Wait a minute. Have you heard the strange tales of the Whistler?
I'm the Whistler.
I was with Danny when it happened, but I couldn't hang on to him. He ran off and left me, and I've been looking for him ever since.
That was Captain Fowler. Something had happened to his friend Danny.
I ain't going to no doctor at this time of the night. Tomorrow, maybe, but I'm not going tonight.
That was Danny. Danny knew something had happened to him, but he didn't know what it was.
But, Danny, you couldn't have done a thing like that. I know. Don't worry, Danny.
That was Fay, Danny's girlfriend. And this is Joe Rodriguez, a fisherman.
It's much better that I leave town, Danny. If I stay, I might forget I am your friend.
Sunday night, and again CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. And so I tell you tonight the strange story of fog.
Well, Danny, my boy, this is the thickest fog I've seen in this harbor in many a year. Mm-hmm. I've been a sailorman for a long time.
Yeah, that's right, Captain. Can't see a single light along the entire waterfront. But we don't need light for where we're going. I know the way to the anchor pool room.
Yeah, I know, too. Hey, Danny, you didn't bring your gun, did you?
Sure I did. Why?
Now, wait a minute. I'm not going to let you talk to Duke Moran with a gun in your pocket.
Why not, Captain?
Well, you might lose your temper and do something you'd regret.
What's the matter with you, Cap? I ain't going to shoot anybody. I just want it in case Duke Moran gets tough.
Oh, sure. I know. But if he gets tough, you can handle him with your fists.
Sure. Unless he tried to slip a knife through my ribs.
Well...
don't worry about the gun, Captain. I won't lose my head.
So Danny and Captain Fowler continue on their way toward the anchor pool room, Duke Moran's usual hangout, where Danny intends to have a showdown with Moran. But the captain is worried about Danny's gun, for he knows that Danny hates Moran to the core of his being.
Now, look, son, I hate to keep bringing this up, but, I wouldn't go storming up to the Duke and start raising the devil.
He borrowed money from me, and he ain't kept his word about paying it back.
Oh, I know, my boy, but he'll pay it back.
Oh, no, he won't. He's planning to skip town and leave me holding the sack.
Now, look, you're working for me, Danny, and you're my best friend. And I'm going along to back up your claims because I was a witness when the loan was made. But look here, I don't want to see you in no trouble.
Oh, I'll take it easy. But I can tell you one thing.
Hey, look out for that hydrant. Look out. Danny, you're hurt. Here. Let me help you.
No.
There. That's it now. Easy does it. Up now. There we are. Nasty spill. You just sit here for a bit. Oh, you took a real header.
Yeah?
How do you feel, Danny? Yeah, better let me see if you cut yourself.
Keep your hands off me. Who are you?
What?
What is this, a stick-up?
Danny, are you kidding?
Go away. Get away or I'll call the cops.
Why? Danny, you're out of your head.
Get away.
But don't you know me?
Let me alone.
Oh, come back here. No, don't go away. Come back. Danny!
Danny breaks away and quickly disappears into the fog. For a quarter of an hour, Captain Fowler searches the vicinity and finally hurries on to the anchor pool room.
Hey, Any of you guys here in the pool room seen Danny Price?
Oh, hello there, Cap. No, I haven't seen Danny.
Neither have I, Cap. Don't think he's been around.
Oh, I see. Well, is Duke Moran here?
The Duke? He was here a minute ago. Where'd he go, George?
Out in the alley, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Some guy opened the back door and called him.
Some guy... Oh,
Uh-huh.
well, tell me, was it Danny?
I don't know.
I don't know either, Captain. We didn't pay no attention to who it was.
Oh, I see. Well, okay, boys. Thanks.
Later that night, groping his way along the waterfront, Captain Fowler arrives at the box office of the Crystal Motion Picture Theater. An attractive girl is selling tickets.
Hello, Fay.
Well, hello there, Captain. Going to the show?
Oh, no, not tonight, Fay. I'm looking for Danny. Have you seen him?
No, I haven't. And I'm sore at that big lug, too. He promised faithfully he'd be here to take me home, and it's time to close the box office right now.
Now, look, Fay, I don't want to excite you, but I've got to tell you something. Danny's had an accident.
An accident?
Yeah. He fell down on the street. He tripped over a fire hydrant, and when he got up, you know what happened? He couldn't remember nothing. He was walking around someplace in a daze.
Good heavens.
Yes, I was with him when it happened, but I couldn't hang on to him. He run off and left me, and I've been looking for him ever since.
Would you tell the police?
No.
Well, for heaven's sake, tell them, Captain. Maybe they can find him.
No, Fay, I don't want to tell the cops.
Why not?
There's a certain reason, and I don't want to talk about it here.
Look, you wait here till I check in the cash. It'll only take a few minutes. I'll be right with you.
All right, Fay.
All right, Captain. Now tell me, why didn't you notify the police?
Because Danny's got a gun on him.
Oh.
Yes. He was on his way to see Duke Moran. You know, about that money.
Oh, yes.
And he was afraid the Duke might start something.
I see. You say you've been looking for Danny?
Yes, I've been everywhere. Been to the casino, over to the bowling alley.
Have you been to Fred's Cafe?
Well, no.
Well, Danny goes there for coffee sometimes.
Well, all right. We'll take a look. Fred's Cafe, why, it's in the next block, ain't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you, Fay, we got to find that kid. He's like a crazy man. You know what he did? He looked me right in the face, and he didn't know me.
Oh, my goodness. Captain, suppose his memory never does come back.
Oh, no, Fay, don't carry on like that. And don't you start worrying. Yeah, I know how you feel. You and Danny engaged to be married and all, but don't you worry. I think everything will turn out all right.
Oh, I hope so.
Hey, wait!
Listen.
What's your hurry, folks?
That's Danny.
Well, sure it is.
Hey, you going to a fire or something? I've been chasing you for a block.
Oh, Danny.
Hiya, Fay.
Oh, Danny, you're all right.
Oh, sure. Sure, I'm all right. Except I'm kind of mixed up. All of a sudden, I'm sitting in the Clark Hotel. And I don't remember going there at all.
The Clark Hotel?
Yeah.
Well, so that's where you been.
Well, it seems to me I was walking along with you, Cap.
Of course you were, Danny. Don't you know what happened? You had a lapse of memory.
Huh?
Yeah, we've been worried to death about you. The captain and I were looking for you. Oh, Danny, I'm so glad you're all right.
Oh, so I've been off my noggin.
Sure. Don't you remember falling over that fire hydrant?
Fire hydrant?
Yes, that's what did it, Danny. When I helped you up, you thought I was a stick-up man. You ran off down the street.
Well, I'll be darned. How long ago this happened, Cap?
Well, it's been an hour ago or more. You've been in the Clark Hotel all that time?
Well, how should I know?
When did you come to your senses, Danny?
Well, just now. I'm sitting there in the lobby wondering what it's all about when I seen you folks passing the window.
Oh, swell. But look, Danny boy, you're going to a doctor right away.
What do you mean, doctor?
Well, your head, you must have struck it when you fell.
Oh, my head's all right.
Oh, now, please, don't put up an argument, Danny.
Oh, now, look. Hey, here comes an ambulance. Maybe I better flag it down and crawl in, huh?
Oh, now, don't be smart.
Wait a minute. That's no ambulance. Well, it's a police car.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, come on, never mind the police car. Danny, come over here under the light. Let me take a look at your head.
Oh, now, look, Fay, I tell you there's nothing wrong with...
Hey, look. You see where that car's stopping?
Huh?
Over in front of the Anchor pool room.
Yeah? Well, wonder what's happened there.
Well, I don't know.
Well, forget it.
No,
Come
no,
on.
no. I want to find out what's going on.
Yeah, so do I.
Come on, Danny. Let's go over and see.
All right, you people, get back now. Don't block the doorway.
Hey, what's happened, officer?
The guy's been killed. Shot.
Yeah?
Yeah. They just found his body out in back of the pool hall.
Who was he? Do you know?
Yeah, Duke Moran.
Duke Moran murdered, killed on the very night that you, Danny, with hatred in your heart and a gun in your pocket, were on your way to demand your money. Could it be that after your mind went blank, you continued on to the Anchor Pool Room? Look at your gun, Danny. If no shots have been fired, you're all in the clear.
Did I kill him? Did I kill him? Did I kill him?
Come on, Danny. Let's go.
Well, how do you like that? A guy gets bumped off owing me $100.
Yep, and you can kiss that dough goodbye.
And how?
Captain, who do you suppose killed Moran?
Well, how should I know? Didn't have any enemies that I know of. Except Danny.
What do you mean, except Danny? I wasn't the guy's enemy. I just wanted my money back, that's all.
Sure, I know.
You know what?
But you just wanted your money back. What are you getting so excited about?
Hey, boys, let's not walk down this way. There's no doctor in this
Oh,
direction.
Fay, will you let up on that doctor thing? I tell you, there's nothing wrong with my head.
How do you know?
Well, anyhow, I ain't going to no doctor this time of the night. Tomorrow, maybe. My head starts aching or something.
Is that a promise?
Oh, okay, that's a promise.
Hey, Danny.
Yeah?
You know, I went to that pool hall right after you disappeared. I thought maybe I'd find you there.
Yeah? Was I there?
No, you wasn't. I asked about Moran, and they said he'd just gone out in the alley. Somebody opened the back door and called him.
Why, Captain, you must have been there just before the murder.
Sure looks like it. I'm sorry now I didn't go out and back and see who Moran was with.
It's a shame you didn't.
Yeah. Hey, Danny, I've been wondering.
All right, go ahead and say it. It was me that called him out and back. It was me that killed him.
Why, Danny.
Well, that's what he's thinking, Fay. I can see it sticking out all over him.
Danny, you mustn't say that.
He knows I've been out of my head for an hour. Can't remember a thing, so now he's trying to pin a crime on me.
Shut up, you fool. Shut up. Why should I want to pin a crime on you?
That's what I'd like to know.
What if you did kill Moran? I'm not holding it against you. You couldn't be blamed. You was off your nut.
Well, I didn't kill him.
How do you know?
I didn't. I know I didn't.
Yes, but how do you know?
Oh, Captain, use your head. Danny lost his memory, and that includes his memory of Moran and his grudge against Moran and everything.
Sure. So now what do you got to say?
Well, maybe that grudge was in the back of your mind, Danny. Even while your memory wasn't working.
You see, Fay, he's bound to make out I did it.
Oh, no such thing. But look here, if you was mixed up in this murder, Danny, it's up to me to help you. I'm your friend. And I gotta find out about it, Danny. Let me see your gun.
Huh?
Let me see your gun.
Oh, the devil with you.
Let him see it, Danny. That'll settle everything.
Oh. All right. Sure he can see it. There you are, Cap.
Thanks, Danny. Well, the barrel smells of powder.
Oh, you're crazy.
And 2 slugs have been fired, Danny. Look here.
All right, so the gun's been fired. And that means I killed Moran, I suppose. You're crazy, I tell you.
He's right, Captain. That gun doesn't prove a thing. He might have fired those shots anywhere for no reason at all.
Sure, I've been out of my head, ain't I?
Don't you worry, Danny boy. You didn't kill Moran.
Of course I didn't.
You couldn't have done a thing like that. Not even in a trance. So don't worry. Everything's going to be all right. Don't worry, Danny, darling.
Poor Fay. She doesn't believe her own brave talk. Deep down in her heart, she's afraid that Danny is a killer. It is nearly midnight now. Danny and Captain Fowler have returned to their boat, the fishing boat Dolphin, in the harbor. Danny sits on the deck, gazing morosely into the fog.
Well, hadn't you better turn in, kid? You ought to get some sleep.
Oh, I couldn't sleep. Stick here a minute, will you, Cap? I'd like to talk to you.
Sure.
I'm sorry I blew my top the way I did when we was ashore.
Oh, that's all right, Danny.
I know you was thinking of my interest when you asked to see the gun.
Sure I was.
All kidding aside, it looks pretty much like I bumped off Moran, doesn't it, Cap?
Well, Danny, to be honest with you, it does. Still, there's room for doubt. And if I was you, I'd lay low and say nothing.
I know one thing. I could never be convicted of murder, even if I did do it.
Why not?
Because I was suffering from amnesia.
Yeah. The trouble is, how are we going to prove that?
How are we going to prove it? Well, couldn't you prove it? You was there when it happened. You saw me go slug nutty.
Sure, but who's going to believe me? I'm your friend. They think I was lying to save your neck.
Yeah, I see what you mean. The things look pretty bad then, don't they?
Ah, now, look, Danny. Don't go hanging yourself in advance. You know, maybe it's like Fay said. Maybe you just happened to fire them shots.
Hey, listen. I hear a motorboat.
Well, so what?
It's coming this way. Hear it?
Well... sure, I hear it.
It's the cops. They're coming here to ask questions.
Oh.
I'm getting out of here, Captain.
No, you keep your shirt on. I'll hail the boat and find out who it is. Now, you wait right here. Ahoy there! Ahoy! Who is it?
It's me, Joe Rodriguez.
Oh. There you are, Danny. It's only Portuguese Joe.
What's he doing out here this time of night?
Well, I don't know.
Here is my line, Captain. You make me fast. I'm coming aboard.
Okay, Joe.
How'd you know we'd be up this late?
Yeah.
I just took a chance, Danny. But I am glad you are up.
Oh, don't tell me you ran out of live bait again.
Oh, no. I got plenty live bait.
Oh? What can we do for you, Joe?
Captain, I got a little business proposition I would like to talk over with Danny. And I would like to talk to him private.
Private?
Oh, now, wait a minute. Anything you got to say to me, you can say in front of the captain.
Oh, no, Danny. This is private. Very private.
Oh, see, well, that's okay, kid. I'll go below. I was about to turn in anyway.
Thank you, Captain.
Oh, don't keep him up too long, Joe. You need some sleep.
I'll just be a few minutes, Captain. Good night.
Good night.
Well, what's on your mind?
Danny, I'm fed up with this town. Business is rotten here. I want to go to Seattle.
Yeah?
And I need a little money, Danny. $200. And I want for you should let me have it.
Are you kidding?
Ain't you got $200?
Sure. Sure I have, but I'm getting married in a few days. I need every cent I've got.
Oh, yeah? The sweet young lady who works at the Crystal Theater, huh? You'll be very happy with her, Danny.
You bet I will.
But you'll be much more happy if you give me the money so I can get out of town, Danny.
What do you mean?
I am your friend, Danny, and I do not wish to cause you any trouble. But I know something about you that nobody else in this world knows. Not one soul.
Yeah?
Yeah. Tonight I am in an alley, behind the anchor pool room. There is much fog, but I can see a little bit because there is a light. I see you shoot Duke Moran. Twice. To the heart.
You're a dirty liar.
So, you see, Danny, it's much better I should leave town. If I stay here, I might get drunk someday and forget I am your friend. I might talk, Danny.
You climb in that boat of yours and get back to shore. Go on or I'll throw you overboard.
You come to see me tomorrow, huh? Before noon? If you don't come by noon, well, maybe I get drunk, huh?
Cap, you awake?
Oh, yes, Dan.
Well, there's no room for doubt now. I'm the guy that did it.
What? How do you know?
Portuguese Joe was an eyewitness. He was there in the alley, saw the whole thing.
Oh, now, wait a minute.
That's right, Cap. That dirty rat came out here to blackmail me. Tried to shake me down for $200. Said I'd have to dig it up by tomorrow noon or he'd start talking.
Well, I'll be darned. Kid, I guess it's time we started doing some fast thinking.
Now, that ain't necessary, Cap. I'm clearing out tonight.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Don't get panicky now. Now, let's give it some thought.
Oh, no, I'm on my way, Cap. No fooling.
Well, where are you going?
I don't know, but I'm going for good. I won't be back.
You won't be... Oh, now, look here. What about Fay? What about your wedding?
Well, that's just a broken dream, Cap.
Oh, Danny. Well, at least you're going to see her before you go, ain't you?
No.
Well, Danny, what's the matter with you? It ain't fair of you to run out on Fay.
It's the fairest thing in the world. Why prolong the agony? There's got to be a clean break.
Oh, but Fay's such a grand kid, and she'll wait for you. Fay's loyal. Yes, sir, Danny. After this thing blows over, you'll find Fay right here waiting for you.
I don't want her to wait for me, and I ain't coming back. Can't you understand that? You think I'd marry Fay now? Me, a killer?
Oh, yeah, I know.
I love that girl. I wouldn't bring disgrace on her. And it would be disgrace even if I'd cleared myself of the charge. I'd still be a killer.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you would. Well, I guess there's no use talking to you. You won't listen to a word I say.
No, Cap. I've made up my mind. I'm going to pack my grip now and go ashore.
Golly, kid, I sure hate to lose you.
Yeah, I hate to go, too, Cap. You've been a prince to me. More like a brother than a boss.
Well, all I can say is thanks, Danny.
Even when you knew I was saving up my money to buy a boat of my own, to go into competition with you, you never said a word.
Well, why should I? Oh, this is a free country. Every man has a right to advance himself.
And, about Fay, I wish you'd explain to her. You know what to say.
Well, not quite as good a talker as you are, Danny, but I'll try.
You know something, Cap? I wish you and Fay'd get married. I know you'd make her happy.
Me and Fay? Oh, no, why, she wouldn't have me.
Don't be too sure about that. She'll forget about me after a while. But explain things to her, will you?
Well, okay, Danny. I'll try. I'll do my best.
Well, I'm going to hit the first freight train out of town. So long, Cap.
Danny, wait a minute.
Hey, what are you doing here?
Oh, Danny, I'm so glad I saw you. I was about to get a boat and go out to the Dolphin.
Yeah?
I've got some wonderful news for you.
What?
At least I think I have. What caliber is your revolver?
Well, it's a .38.
I thought so. Danny, you didn't kill him. You didn't kill Moran. He was shot with a .45.
Huh?
Yeah. I just came from the police hospital. They took the bullets from Moran's body. They were bullets from a .45.
Oh, no. No, that can't be right.
It is right, Danny.
Well, there's some mistake, honey. Look, I hadn't figured on telling you this, but there was an eyewitness to the murder. Portuguese Joe, the bait peddler. He's just been out to the boat trying to shake me down for some hush money.
Well, he's a liar if he says you did it.
Oh, no, honey. You got a bum steer about them bullets.
I didn't, I tell you. I got it straight from the doctor. What's more, I've been to the Clark Hotel. The clerk said you were there for practically an hour, sitting by the window. That means you went there right after you left the captain, so you couldn't have been to the pool room.
Well, I'll be darned. Now, look, Fay. Suppose you go out to the Dolphin. Here, take this grip. Tell the captain what you just told me. And tell him I'm paying a visit to Portuguese Joe right now.
Yes. Just 1 minute. Who is it? Who's there?
It's me, Danny.
Oh. Well, I wasn't expecting you so soon, Danny. You could just as well have come in the morning.
I wanted to get this thing settled.
Sure. Have you got any money?
Joe, you didn't see me shoot Moran.
Not Danny. I hope you're not going to put up no argument.
You lied to me, and I'm here to get the truth.
Now, look, Danny.
Come on, admit it. You lied to me, didn't you?
No.
No, you shoot did.
No. Let me go. Let me go.
I'll choke the living daylights out of you, you rat. Come on. Come on, tell me you lied.
Yes, I lied to you.
I thought so.
Let me go now.
Sure, I'll let you go. But you're going to come clean. You're going to give me the lowdown on this whole rotten business. Come on now, start talking.
Yeah.
The fog has lifted now, and the eastern sky heralds the approach of dawn. As Danny returns to the Dolphin, he finds Fay standing on the deck.
Hey, Danny, I thought you'd never get back. It's almost daylight.
Well, I had a long ways to go, honey. Joe lives way out at the end of the Channel Street Wharf. That's where his bait shack is.
Well, what'd you find out? Did you face him with his lie?
I sure did. Is the captain in his cabin?
No, he's not. He's gone ashore.
Gone ashore?
Danny, there's something wrong with the captain. He's been acting very queerly.
Yeah?
When I told him you'd gone to see Portuguese Joe, his face went as white as a sheet. Then he went over to his desk and wrote a note. Sealed it in an envelope and told me to give it to you when you come back.
I'll bet I know what's in it.
What?
A confession. But I won't need it now. I got one from Joe.
Well, what do you mean?
Honey, the captain's been framing me.
Framing you?
Yeah, that's right. It's hard to believe, but it's true. Remember he said he didn't go out in back of the pool hall to see who it was that called Moran out in the alley?
Yes.
Well, he lied. He did go out there, and he saw the murder committed. He knew who did it.
Why, Danny.
And right then, he got a bright idea. He figured he'd make me believe I committed that murder. So I'd take it on the lam. Get out of town. You see, honey?
Well, why would he do that?
Because he was in love with you.
What?
Our wedding day was getting closer, and the captain was half crazy with jealousy. He wanted me out of the picture so that he could marry you.
Oh, Danny, I can't believe that.
It's true, honey. Joe told me. I'd have got a lot more out of Joe, too, only he broke loose from me and dived into the water. Last I seen of him, he was swimming away.
Well, what about the murder? Did you find out who killed Moran?
I got a hunch that Joe himself did it. After he left, I looked around his shack. I found an IOU there signed by the Duke.
You did? Then the Duke owed Portuguese Joe money, too.
Yep. And I figured the captain made Joe a proposition. If Joe'd come here and make me believe I was the killer, the captain wouldn't squeal on me.
Sure, Danny. That makes sense.
Well, I better see what the captain wrote.
Yeah. Open it up, Danny.
Dear Danny, I suppose you know everything by now. I haven't got the nerve to face you, kid, so I'll be the one to hit the freight. You won't need to save any more money for that boat. I've signed over the Dolphin to you. You'll find the papers in my desk. Good luck, Danny, and make Fay a good husband.
Yes, the captain was the villain in our story. But wait, what about Danny's gun with the 2 empty shells? That doesn't fit into our solution at all. Or does it? Remember when the captain and Danny were on their way to the pool hall and Danny stumbled over the hydrant? The fog was pretty thick, you know. The captain didn't have a bit of trouble in slipping that gun out of Danny's pocket. He wanted to make sure Danny didn't use it on Moran. And later, after the captain had formulated his plot against Danny, it was a simple matter for him to fire a couple of shots from the gun and then slip it back into Danny's pocket when he met Fay and Danny on the street. Yes, a fog sometimes has its advantages.
CBS has presented The Whistler. Original music for this production was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Tonight's Whistler story was written by Herbert Connor, directed by J. Donald Wilson, and originated from Columbia Square in Hollywood. Next Sunday, same time, 9:15.
I, the Whistler, will return to tell you the unusual story of jealousy. Good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The Signal Oil Program, The Whistler. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Yes, friends, it's time for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, rated tops in popularity for a longer period of time than any other West Coast program in radio history. And Signal gasoline is tops, too, tops in quality. It takes extra quality, you know, to give you extra mileage. And Signal is the famous Go Farther gasoline. So look for the Signal circle sign in yellow and black that identifies friendly dealer-owned Signal stations from Canada to Mexico. And now the Whistler's strange story, Nightmare.
In the bouncing glare of the headlights, the narrow shoreline road twisted and turned dangerously. Signposts, clumps of pine trees, driveways to darkened estates whirled past Philip Adams as he raced through the night, and behind him the sirens grew louder and louder. As Philip Adams ran from the car into the brush, he patted his coat pocket. The bulging manila envelope was still there. Branches tore at his clothing. He stumbled on the rocky path, fell. Quickly, he staggered to his feet and plunged on into the thick undergrowth. And then he heard voices and stopped to listen.
Spread out. Mac, you and Charlie cover the creek there. Okay. Oh, Eddie, keep that spot on the road, will you? All right, the rest of you, come on. Hey. Hey down there, any luck?
No sign of him down here, Lieutenant.
Bound to be around here somewhere.
Are you sure this is the guy we're looking for, Lieutenant?
Yeah, we checked the license number. It's Adams, all right.
Think he might still have the dough on him?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
You know, he's no piker, this Adams. $200,000.
Yeah, well, it was easy for him. He worked for the bank, knew his way around. If he hadn't got so anxious and barreled out so fast trying to get away...
Say, Lieutenant.
Huh?
I wonder if he had time to make it inside one of these estates along here.
Maybe. He'd have a tough time getting into this one, though. Oh, here, throw your light up there along the wall, will you?
Yeah. No, don't say a thing.
All right. Now, come on. Let's take a look over this way. And keep your eyes open.
You know, I got a hunch he headed back across the road.
As the officers move away to continue their search, you breathe a little easier, don't you, Philip? Painfully, you crawl from the underbrush and carefully hobble across the street. The entrance gate to the estate is locked, but you've got to get over that wall. A last desperate, agonizing leap gives you one more chance at freedom. But it isn't much of a chance, is it, Philip? As you lie there in a cold sweat on top of the wall, clutching the rough stone with bleeding hands, you feel the sharp pain spread slowly up your leg.
My leg.
You know you've hurt your ankle badly. Luck has been against you from the start. The officer was right, wasn't he? If only you'd taken your time, if you hadn't been so anxious to get away with the money, this wouldn't have happened. The perfect crime isn't so perfect now, is it, Philip? Moments later, as the moon creeps from behind a cloud, you see the house a short distance away. Its windows are dark. Carefully, you drop to the ground. Move across the lawn. Your twisted ankle making each step an eternity of pain. The windows on the ground floor are locked. Then, as you cross the porch, you kick the doormat and hear the clink of metal.
A key. It's a door key. I wonder if... Let's see. Yeah.
You open the door cautiously. Smell the musty odor of a closed house. See the furniture covers, the rolled-up rugs. Heaving a sigh of relief, you close the door. hobble across the living room. In the kitchen, you turn on the water faucet. Let the cold water run over your bleeding hand. And then...
Well, hello.
Oh, hello.
I was sound asleep. I thought when you came the noise of the car would wake me.
The car. Oh, you mean...
I didn't really know if you'd take the train, taxi, drive, or what. That's why I sent you the wire about the key.
Oh, you're the key. Oh, yes. Yeah, I found it all right.
Oh, your hand. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't notice. Here, let me...
No. No, it's nothing.
Oh, we'd better take care of this.
I tripped walking up the drive. Afraid I twisted my ankle, too.
I'd better call a doctor.
No, please. No, that won't be necessary. No, I'll be all right in a few days.
But he lives just down the road.
No, I don't need a doctor now, really.
Well, then I'll get some bandages. After all, that's what I'm here for. To take care of you.
Oh?
Oh, I'm Miss Wyatt. Hilda Wyatt.
Oh, Miss Wyatt. Oh, yes, of course. How do you do, Miss Wyatt?
In a few moments, she's back with bandages and iodine for your bleeding hand. And you watch her as she runs steaming hot water into a basin and wonder who young, attractive Miss Wyatt is. You wonder, too, who you're supposed to be. It's fantastic, isn't it? To sneak into a strange house and be greeted so cordially by a woman you've never seen before.
There now. If you'll put your foot in the water. Too hot?
No. I'll get used to it.
It should take the swelling down.
Oh.
I'm certainly glad you're here.
Yeah.
This is such a big house. I guess I was a little frightened. I've been here alone the past 2 days.
You've been alone?
Oh, well, the employment agency didn't want to send any of the other servants down until they heard from Evans.
Evans?
The new butler. You know.
Oh, yes. Yeah, of course.
I spoke to him on the phone last night. Sounds rather nice. I think you'll like him.
Oh, yes. Sure I will. Where is Evans now?
He was in San Francisco. He said he'd be down in a day or so. You see, he was under the impression you wouldn't be here for several days. Something you said in one of your wires from Chicago.
Oh, yes. Well, I changed my mind.
Well, he's likely to arrive any time. Anyway, everything's practically ready for you. I made up your room myself. And if you don't mind my cooking for breakfast...
Well, of course not. You're very thoughtful, Miss Wyatt.
Oh, that's just professional instinct. And now that you're here in your new home, I hope you like it. And your new secretary, too.
I hope so, too, Miss Wyatt. Who told you I was just moving in?
The employment agency. They told me quite a bit about you. And the gardener next door is very talkative. Says he even knows what you paid for the house.
Oh, ow. Easy with that hand, Miss Wyatt.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not much of a brownie, I'm afraid. But I am a good secretary.
Yes, I'm sure you are.
I appreciate your hiring me, Mr. Crane.
Oh, you do?
Is something wrong, Mr. Crane? Mr. Crane?
Huh? Oh, wrong? No. No, everything's fine, Miss Wyatt. Yes, just fine.
With the prologue of Nightmare, the Signal Oil Company brings you another strange tale by The Whistler. But now, news about ethyl gasoline. Signal Ethyl is already back at many Signal service stations and will soon be available at all Signal stations. So tonight, on behalf of all the independent Signal dealers throughout the West, I want to take this opportunity to thank you loyal Signal customers for your patience during the period when unavoidable conditions made it impossible to supply this extra quality gasoline. Naturally, Signal Oil Company is doing everything in its power to get Signal Ethyl into all Signal stations as soon as possible, although it will take a little longer to supply stations located farthest from refineries. For your convenience, Each signal dealer will post a sign at his station the moment his supply of signal ethyl arrives. That sign will be your signal that you can again enjoy the faster starting, more flashing pickup, and smoother knock-free power of Signal ethyl gasoline. So, for the very tops in performance from your car, watch for the sign at your signal station that says, "We have ethyl." And now back to the Whistler.
You're bewildered by the curious turn of events, aren't you, Philip? Fleeing the police in the middle of the night, entering a strange house, being greeted as though you belonged, greeted by the perfect secretary, Miss Hilda Wyatt, who somehow thinks you're the owner of the estate, a man named Crane. And now, as you stretch out on the long leather couch in the study, you can't sleep, can you? This strange refuge from the police is almost as nerve-wracking as last night's chase. Your swollen, twisted ankle makes walking almost impossible. And you know you're going to have to stay here in this house until your ankle gets better. But you think of what could happen. Perhaps the servants will arrive from San Francisco and expose you. Maybe the real Mr. Crane will show up. Something you'll say will arouse Miss Wyatt's suspicions. She'll call the police. As the first rays of the morning sun creep through the window, you try to ignore the pain in your ankle as you slip through the hall to the front door. All you want is escape. Escape to Mexico with the $200,000 you stole from the local bank. And then as you open the door...
Oh. Hello. Just about to ring your bell here.
Well, what is it you want?
My name's Haskell, Lieutenant, Norville Police. And you're,
my name's Crane.
I see. You own this place?
That's right. I bought it a little while back.
He's Hudson Willard Crane. He owns the oil club near Reno.
Miss Wyatt, good morning.
Oh, you shouldn't be on that ankle, you know.
This is Miss Wyatt, my secretary officer.
Oh, how do you do, Miss Wyatt? Oh, so you're the Hudson Crane that owns the Oriole Club, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Oh, you said you were looking for someone, Lieutenant?
Oh, yeah. A man named Adams. He ran off with a couple of $100,000 from the local bank. He was in the neighborhood last night. Thought he might have climbed over the wall, gotten into the estate here. You didn't see or hear anything during the night?
Why, no. No, nothing at all.
Uh-huh. Well, thanks, Mr. Crane. Sorry I bothered you. Thank you, miss.
Oh, it's quite all right.
Goodbye.
Well, Miss Wyatt, you seem to know quite a bit about me.
Oh, no, not really. Actually, I only know what they told me at the employment agency. They said you were young, and rather good-looking, a successful nightclub operator, but I'll learn more in time.
Yes, for a new secretary, Miss Wyatt seems to know quite a bit about her employer, Mr. Hudson Willard Crane. Doesn't she, Philip? But it's lucky for you that the employment agency told her as much as they did. You couldn't have told the officers anything, could you? Not even Crane's first name. And you have to convince everyone that you are Mr. Crane for a day or so. Yes, Miss Wyatt was a lucky break for you. She's efficient, too, in many ways, as you find out the next morning.
More coffee, Mr. Crane?
Oh, no, thank you. This is fine.
I thought after you finished breakfast, we might get right to work. That is, if you feel up to it. There are some checks you should sign for the real estate people.
Checks? Oh, well, yeah, I'll attend to that later.
And the mail. Your correspondence is piling up.
Well, later, Miss Wyatt.
Well, all right, sir. Oh, I suppose you'll want to talk to Evans, the butler.
Evans, he's here?
He arrived a short while ago. He came on the bus.
Oh.
I'll send him in.
No, wait, not just yet.
But he'll be anxious to know how you want things done, Mr. Crane. After all, some of your friends may be dropping in. And...
Oh, Miss Wyatt, please. I'll take care of everything later.
Very well, Mr. Crane.
You notice the strange, puzzled look on Miss Wyatt's face as she turns and walks away. and you wonder if she's beginning to think that something is wrong. You realize that your only chance to evade the police is to stay in the house for another 24 hours, at least until your ankle's better. Yes, that's all you need, isn't it? 24 hours. And the police will have left the neighborhood by then, and you'll be able to slip away unnoticed. But in the meantime, you've got to somehow keep one jump ahead of the efficient Miss Wyatt. And to do that, you've got to know more about this man, Crane. You hurry to the study.
Oh, Mr. Crane,
Looking for something, Miss Wyatt?
Oh, well, I was just sorting things out.
I thought I made it perfectly clear that you were not to bother with business.
But these are the files you sent from Chicago. I was just going to straighten them out.
Uh-huh. I'll take care of them, Miss Wyatt.
Mr. Crane, I don't want you to think I was deliberately prying into your personal affairs. I'll get it. Hello? Yes, Chicago. Oh, yes, I'll take the call.
Just a minute, Miss Wyatt. Let me have the phone.
Well, all right, Mr. Crane.
Hello?
Hello, this is Mr. Crane.
One moment, please. Miss Wyatt, this is personal. Do you mind?
Of course not.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Crane?
Hey, what's going on there?
Oh, let me apologize for the confusion, sir. We were just opening the house, and I'm...
Who is this, the new butler?
Yes, I'm the new butler. I'm Evans, sir.
All right, now get this. I'm leaving Chicago in a few minutes, flying out to San Francisco.
Do you wish me to meet you, sir?
Never mind, I'll pick up a car at the airport garage and drive in myself.
Oh, very good, sir.
My plane lands sometime tomorrow.
Pardon, sir. Would you mind telephoning from San Francisco when you arrive?
Why?
Well, I want to have the house ready for you, sir.
Oh, of course.
You'll be bringing guests, sir?
No, I'll be alone.
Yes, sir.
One more thing. If anybody asks you, anybody, you don't know when I'm coming back, understand?
Oh, yes, of course, sir.
I don't want to see anybody when I get there. Just get away from everything and everybody.
I quite understand, sir. Is that all, sir?
See you tomorrow, Evans.
Your hand trembles as you replace the receiver. You haven't much time now, have you, Philip? And yet somehow, you sense in all this a real chance for escape. A few minutes later, you put things in motion in a conversation with Evans, the new butler. And you're no longer afraid, because you know now that he's never met Crane face to face.
Evans, I hate to have you just arrive and then send you off again, but something urgent's come up.
Very good, sir. Whatever you wish.
I'm going to have to make a quick trip to Canada. I want you to run into San Francisco and make the arrangements for me. Oh, here's some money. Buy anything you think I'll need.
Well, this might all take some time, sir.
It's all right. Well, I'd like to leave day after tomorrow, and you stay on in the city until everything's taken care of.
Very good, sir. I'll handle everything.
Yes, Philip. Evans will handle everything. He's very efficient. Too bad you have no intention of actually using his services. But it will look good to the police, won't it? When Crane finally arrives and they piece it all together. Discover that you planned a clever escape to Canada. It will throw them off, while you're actually continuing on your way to Mexico. It's later that night, with Evans gone, that you decide to speak to Miss Wyatt. Plant some things in her mind that will add to your plan in evading the police. You go downstairs and wonder why it's so quiet in the house. Suddenly you feel panic.
Miss Wyatt. Miss Wyatt. Miss Wyatt.
You wonder if she's gone, Philip. If she learned the truth and slipped away from the house. And then you see a crack of light beneath the study door.
Miss Wyatt, what are you doing?
Isn't it fairly obvious? I'm going through your Chicago files again.
No, your attitude's pretty hard to understand, Miss Wyatt. I think it's time we talk this over. Sit down.
No, I'd prefer that we stand for this.
Oh, God.
Stay where you are. I wasn't sure about you until just now, Crane, when I went through your files. If I had been, I'd have killed you the first night you were here.
What?
Do you think it was fun fixing your ankle, cooking your meal?
Now, wait a minute.
You've heard of imposters, haven't you, Crane?
All right, I'm an imposter, but... Look, I can make things easy for you. I've got
can't give me back Joe Baldwin, Crane.
Joe Baldwin?
My name isn't Wyatt, Crane. It's Baldwin. Edna Baldwin. I wasn't only Joe Baldwin's girl, Crane. I was his wife.
Joe Baldwin.
Now tell me the name means nothing to you. Tell me that, Crane. You don't remember how you framed him, do you?
Wait a minute. This is all a mistake.
It's no mistake, Crane. I found out everything 5 minutes ago.
I've never heard of Baldwin. You got to listen to me. You're all wrong. I'm not the man you
You're
want.
Hudson Willard Crane, and you framed Joe Baldwin into the electric chair.
Will you wait a
and
minute?
You double-crossed Joe and me, too, out of enough money to buy into gambling places in Chicago
Now
and
listen
Nevada.
to me.
And now you live like a king. Well, that's all over for you now, Crane. The law couldn't get you. But I will.
You don't understand. I'm not Crane at all. My name's
Don't
Adam.
come any closer.
Come on, give me that gun.
No.
Look, I'm not Crane, don't
No.
you see? You must believe me. Give me that
No,
gun.
you'd try anything, wouldn't you? But you can't get away with it with me.
Miss Wyatt.
You watch as she falls to the floor. A small girl now, small and white. You don't have to feel her pulse to know that she's dead. Numbly, you sink down in the chair, sure that this is the end. A murdered girl in the house. You wanted by the police already. An ankle that won't allow you to walk 2 blocks. It's all over now, isn't it, Philip? The grand plans for escape into Mexico. Everything's done. You'll be caught, and it'll be the gas chamber. As the phone's insistent ringing brings you back to your surroundings, you reach over and touch the cradle, hoping to stop the irritation of the sound. And then slowly it comes to you.
Hello?
A half-familiar voice on the other end of
Hello?
the wire.
Hello?
Hello,
Say, is everything all right there? Can you hear me? This is Crane. I'm in San Francisco.
Mr. Crane. Oh, you're in San Francisco.
Of course. You asked me to phone. All right, I'm here.
Yes, sir.
You sure everything's all right there?
Oh, everything's fine, sir.
You didn't tell anybody I was coming in.
No, I didn't, sir.
Good. I'll have a bite of dinner, and then I'll start.
Begging your pardon, sir, but could you hurry?
I thought you said everything was all right.
It's something I can't discuss on the telephone, not right now, sir. But your new secretary, Miss Wyatt, I caught her looking through your personal files.
What? I'll pick up my car and be there in 2 hours.
Very good, sir, and drive carefully, sir.
Yes, you must get Crane to hurry, Philip, because the car he's driving up from San Francisco is your way out. It all came to you when you heard his voice on the telephone. And there'll be no murder charge against you. It'll be against Crane, the one man who had reason to kill this girl. Methodically, you hobble about the room, setting the murder trap. The first thing, wipe the gun free of your prints. Straighten the rug. Turn a single lamp on in the study. Her body's behind the desk. It'll take him a while to see it. But while he's inside, you'll be in his car driving southward, and you'll stop just once to make an anonymous phone call to the police. You smile to yourself as you step outside in the gathering dusk and take your station well hidden behind the porch, waiting for Crane. The 2 hours seem like years, but at last a black limousine pulls up in the driveway, and a tall, broad-shouldered man gets out. You watch him go up on the porch and push open the door.
Hello, anybody home?
And your heart's in your mouth as you see him stoop and pick up the gun that you left lying in the hall. Quietly, you creep toward the car, and then a thought strikes you. Maybe he didn't leave the keys. You've got to have those keys. You're shaking as you come to the car and look through the open window and run your hand quickly along the dashboard, and then...
Ah, they're here. I'm in luck. The keys are here.
The Whistler will return in just a moment with a strange ending to tonight's story. Meantime, a tip for you drivers. Since cooler weather is here to stay, the kind of oil that you use in your motor is more important than ever. The reason? On short trips around town, your motor seldom gets warm enough to drive off the moisture that condenses in the crankcase. As a result, harmful gums may form, which can damage costly motor parts. That's why Signal brought out Signal Premium Compounded Motor Oil, an improved type lubricant which contains special scientific compounds. Inside your motor, these compounds go to work to do jobs which a regular oil alone cannot do. One compound, for instance, stands ready to dissolve any harmful gums that might form. Another compound washes out carbon. And still other compounds help in other ways to keep performance up and wear down. That's why Signal Premium Compounded Motor Oil is your guarantee of a sweeter running motor. So next time you change oil, make it a change for the better at your nearest Signal service station. It'll take your Signal dealer only a few moments to drain out tired old oil and refill with the improved type Signal oil that does so much more than just lubricate. Signal Premium Compounded Motor Oil. And now back to the Whistler.
It's been a nightmare, hasn't it, Philip? Your flight. The moments of panic before your escape over the wall to the protection of Crane's darkened house. The worry and constant fear of discovery. Of not being able to flee because of your swollen ankle. But it's all behind you now. Crane did exactly what you planned. He picked up the murder gun where you left it in the hallway. The gun you used to kill Hilda Wyatt. He's certain to be excused, and you'll see to it that with your phone call to the police. And the confusion of a murder will give you still more time to cross the border into Mexico with your $200,000. You smile to yourself as you open the door and start to slip behind the wheel.
Borrowing this car, Mr. Crane?
Where did you come from?
I've been sitting in this back seat all the time.
Look, it's a mistake. I'm not Crane.
Oh, that's so? I thought I saw you sneaking out of the house.
I just came by to see Mr. Crane on business.
And he wasn't home, huh?
That's right. You looking for Mr. Crane?
Grand larceny, embezzlement, and a dozen other things. Just had a wire from the Chicago police to pick him up.
Police?
Yeah. Oh, I'm Reynolds, San Francisco headquarters. But Lieutenant Jeffries, the head man. You know, he might want to talk to you.
Oh, look, I don't want to get mixed up in anything.
Oh, if you're on the level, you won't get mixed up.
I'm in an awful hurry. I can't wait for your Lieutenant Jeffries to show up.
Don't have to. He's inside now.
He's...
Sure. That was Jeffries that went in the house just a minute ago.
You mean that wasn't Crane?
I thought you said you knew Crane.
Oh, well...
You know, I think we'll both go inside. Lieutenant Jeffries might want to ask you some questions.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Sunday night at this same time. Brought to you by the Signal Oil Company, marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil, and fine quality automotive accessories. Signal has asked me to remind you, to get the most driving pleasure, drive at sensible speeds, be courteous, and obey traffic regulations. It may save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were Joseph Kearns and Eve McVeigh. The Whistler was produced by George W. Allen and directed tonight by Sterling Tracy, with story by Robert Eisenbach and Jackson Gillis and music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. Remember, at this same time next Sunday, another strange tale by The Whistler. Marvin Miller speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. The Signal Oil program, The Whistler. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler.
I am the Whistler. And I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Yes, friends, it's time for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, rated tops in popularity for a longer period of time than any other West Coast program in radio history. And Signal gasoline is tops, too, tops in quality. It takes extra quality, you know, to give you extra mileage. And Signal is the famous Go Farther gasoline. So look for the Signal circle sign in yellow and black that identifies friendly dealer-owned Signal stations from Canada to Mexico. And now the Whistler's strange story. Stranger in the House.
Helen decided she might as well be honest with herself. The suspense was getting her down. But if she didn't find out one way or the other pretty soon, something was going to snap. It had been over 6 years since her foster brother Ted had left for the Orient on that government mission. And he was still out there, somewhere between Manila and Shanghai, alive or dead. It was a terrible thing to admit even to herself. But she was even wishing now for any kind of message, even one stating Ted was dead. At least it would end the waiting. At least it would be better than not knowing at all.
George, please. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Ted's been on my mind for so long now that I wish I could forget about him for a while.
I'm rather surprised to hear you say that, Helen.
Oh, I know it sounds terrible, but... George, it's been 6, almost 7 years of waiting and not knowing.
Yes, I know, Helen.
I can't stand it much longer, George. After all, he's my foster brother. Don't you understand? All these years of silence. If they'd only tell us something.
You must realize there are a lot of women like you, dear. It's just one of the terrible things about the aftermath of war, that's all.
Let's just wait, then. Let's not talk about him anymore.
I'm your lawyer, Helen. There are some things we've got to talk about.
All right. Go on, George.
Well, it's been almost 7 years now. If we haven't heard from Ted in another 4 months, he'll be declared legally dead.
What does that mean?
There's a clause in your foster father's will, Helen. When Ted dies, the entire estate goes over to you.
Why must you always throw that will in my face, George? Why must it always come around to money, money, money? Every time we talk about Ted, it's the same thing. I don't care about the money. All I care about is having him back alive and well. Now, please go, George. If it doesn't have to be settled till September, let's not talk about it till then.
All right, Helen.
Well, George.
Yes?
I'm sorry I blew up. I guess I'm just not myself.
Sure, Helen. I understand.
Yes, Helen, the suspense is beginning to tell on you, isn't it? Almost 7 years of it. Just a few letters from Ted early in 1941, telling you of his arrival in Manila. Then silence. No way you could get in touch with him. Nothing you could do but wait. And you're still waiting, rushing out to meet the postman, hoping each day will be the big one. George is more tactful now about the will. He doesn't mention it anymore, and you're very grateful. And then at long last, the suspense is ended. It's not the postman. It's Rhoda, your maid, walking into your bedroom one morning with a cablegram.
When did it come, Rhoda?
Just this minute, miss. A messenger brought it to the door.
Arriving June 4th, Seattle steamer President Jefferson. Love, Ted.
Oh, at last. Oh, Miss Helen, Mr. Ted coming home at last.
Yes. Yes, Rhoda. At last. Pardon me? Oh, I beg your pardon. Stuart? Oh, Stuart!
Yes, miss?
I'm looking for Mr. Ted Van Norton. Where is his cabin, please?
Just a minute, please. Van Norton. Stateroom 3C, third deck.
Thank you.
Come in.
Ted, darling.
Hello.
I'm sorry. I must have the wrong stateroom. I'm looking for my brother, Ted Van Norton.
Oh, what's the matter, Helen? Don't you recognize me?
What? Who are you?
Well, this isn't much of a homecoming after 6 years. Maybe I better introduce myself. The name is Theodore Van Norton.
Oh, there must be some mistake.
Helen, darling, you're joking.
Who are you?
Well, I've already told you. I'm your foster brother, Ted Van Norton.
You're not Ted. You're an imposter.
With the prologue of Stranger in the House, the Signal Oil Company is bringing you another strange story by The Whistler. But now, important news for drivers. The amazing new type tire by Lee of Conshohocken, which is being announced this month in the Saturday Evening Post, is already at your Signal dealers. I'm referring to the new 8-rib Super Deluxe Lee tire. Not just a new model, mind you, but a completely new tire. You can see that the handsome 8-rib tread is wider and flatter, and there's more rubber in it. But not until you drive on these new type tires can you appreciate their easier turning and steering, and the way they absorb road shocks, sparing you fatigue and sparing your car unnecessary wear. In addition, quicker stopping and greater protection against skidding are assured by the 16 cleaning edges on Lee's broad, flat tread. And when it comes to wear, these new Lee Super Deluxe tires are setting records so amazing they're almost unbelievable. Yet all this extra quality is yours at no extra cost. In fact, right now, as their summer driving special, Signal dealers are offering extra generous trade-ins on old tires, plus liberal credit terms. So before you buy any tire, see your Signal dealer. Find out how little it will cost you to enjoy real safety and comfort this summer with new 8-rib Lee Super Deluxe tires. And now back to the Whistler.
Well, Helen, all you can do is stand there in the stateroom and stare at him. The effrontery of this stranger trying to pass himself off as your foster brother leaves you at a loss for something to say. True, he does resemble Ted. He's tall, the same build, the same athletic poise, the same general features. But the expression, it's not quite Ted's, is it? That's funny, isn't it, Helen? Perhaps he thinks it's funny in a different sort of way. Perhaps he's one of those people with a perverted sense of humor, a practical joker. Yes, it's hilarious, isn't it, to pull a trick like this after all those years of almost unbearable suspense.
Well, darling, hadn't we better get a move on?
Are you stupid enough to think you can get away with this?
Get away with what?
If this is some crude attempt at humor, I don't
Not at all. I'm quite serious.
Where's Ted?
Oh, do you have to be that way? I explained once.
Don't lie to me. Where is he?
Excuse me a moment. Oh, steward,
Yes, Mr. Van Norton.
would you take care of my hand baggage, please?
Yes, sir, right away.
Thanks. Come on, Helen, let's go down to the dock.
I'll call the purser.
Wait a minute. Now, look. See, passport with fingerprints and photograph, birth certificate, State Department credentials, letters from you.
They are forgeries.
I'm sorry, they're genuine.
You're not going home with me. I won't stand for it.
Very well, darling. I'll check in at a hotel for the time being. But after all, you can't keep a guy out of his own home, can you?
George, I've never been so stunned in my life. He just stood there smiling at me, saying over and over that he was Ted.
Wait a minute. You say he had identification?
Everything. Even letters from me. I wrote them when Ted first arrived in Manila.
Were they genuine?
Oh, I think so. You're my lawyer. Do something.
He'd know better than try to get by with forgeries. Helen, you're sure you're right?
George, you don't think I know my own brother?
Oh, but it's been close to 7 years. He's probably been in prison camp. That can make a lot of difference in a man's appearance.
But it's not entirely a matter of appearance. It's the way he walks, his voice, his mannerisms. Besides, Ted's dead.
What?
Well, something terrible's happened, I'm sure of it. This man might have killed him. Yes, that's it. So he could get his hands on Ted's money.
That's a pretty serious charge, Helen. You've got to be sure of yourself. You're the only one in Seattle who can recognize him. Remember, he's been gone for 7 years. Do you have any pictures?
No, I thought of that. No. No, there weren't any, not since he was a little boy. Spent most of his time in the East with Aunt Ida.
Well, where's she?
She died some time ago.
Well, there are a lot of ways we can check on him. The State Department ought to know about him. He's been with them for over 10 years. You say he's stopping at a hotel?
Yes.
You know, of course, that if he can prove his identity, he has a legal right to live here in this house.
I tell you, he's a flagrant imposter. He's not coming here if I have to hire somebody to throw him out.
Oh. Who is it?
It's Rhoda, miss.
Oh, what time is it?
After 8.
Oh. Go away. I'm sleepy.
I must see you, miss.
All right, Rhoda, come in.
Now, what is it?
It's that man, Mr. Van Norton.
What? Where is he?
He's in the guest bathroom, miss. Shaving.
Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer... Well, good morning.
What do you think you're doing?
Shaving, morning ablutions. Can't say I'm used to having ladies barge into the bathroom.
Get out of here!
Temper.
How did you get in?
Well, I couldn't get a room at a hotel, so I took a taxi up last night. Walked in the back door. It was open, you see.
You can leave the same way you came in.
Oh, no, I'm here to stay, sister dear. I've got the proof in my pocket. And if you want to get me out, you can trot right down to the Hall of Justice and get yourself a court order. Have some more coffee, Helen.
No, thanks.
Hot cakes?
Mr. Whoever you are.
Van Norton. Name's Theodore Van Norton.
I must say, I've never seen such colossal nerve in my life.
Oh, you flatter me.
You're not at all concerned about the servants?
Should I be?
Aren't you afraid they'll fail to recognize you?
Don't be silly. None of them were here when I left. Edward the butler was last to go, I think. Oh, by the way, Helen, whatever became of old Edward?
There are other people in town, of course. What about your teachers at Washington Heights School?
Why, Helen. I believe you're trying to trick me. You know Father sent me to Foxhall Academy when I was 14. I never went to Washington Heights.
Oh.
Where are you going?
You seem to know everything. Why don't you tell me that?
Helen, we have some talking to do, darling. About the will. Father's estate left all of it to me, you know. Seems to me the executor owes me close to $1 million.
You knew it was coming, didn't you, Helen? That's the purpose behind this whole crazy business. It's still inconceivable to you that the man can actually expect to get away with it. George was right. There are 1,000 ways you can check up on him. And the imposter himself just gave you an excellent one. You make a long-distance call to the Foxhall Academy and talk to Mr. Rigby, the headmaster.
Why, yes, of course, Miss Van Norton. I'd be delighted to come down tomorrow afternoon. Ted was always one of my favorites, you know. Any special time?
What about 2 o'clock?
Fine. It'll be quite a reunion, won't it?
Yes, indeed, Mr. Rigby. Quite a reunion. Mr. Rigby, this is George Chadwick, my lawyer.
Mr. Chadwick? How do you do, sir?
Would you like to wait in the living room, Mr. Rigby? I think Ted's out on the tennis court. We'll call him.
Thanks.
Come on, George. Excuse us, Mr. Rigby.
Of course.
Do you still think I don't know my brother?
No, I never said that, Helen. I only said 7 years can make a lot of difference. You yourself said his general features were the same.
I'm afraid Mr. What's-his-name is going to suffer a little embarrassment.
You think Rigby will recognize him?
We'll recognize him as an imposter, if that's what you mean. He knows Ted as well as I do.
Uh-huh.
What's the matter?
I don't know. I had those documents checked, the hospital records in Manila. He was a patient there for...
I tell you, he's a fraud. Heaven knows what's happened to Ted or how this crook got hold of his papers,
All
but
right, Helen. You'd better go and call him.
Hello, sis. What's up?
I was sorry to interrupt your tennis game. Ted?
Oh, it's Ted now, huh?
Why, of course. I could have been mistaken, you know.
Well, can't say I expected this.
I'd be a little foolish not to admit it when I'm wrong, wouldn't I? Come on, dear.
Where to?
Just to the living room. You can go back to your tennis in a moment. Oh, there you are, George.
Hello, Ted.
Hello, George. What's going on around here?
We're going into the living room, George. Perhaps you'd like to join us.
Yes, of course.
Well, open the door, George.
Oh, sorry.
Say, what's this all about? Rigby!
Ted! Teddy, old boy, how have you been?
Oh, you old son of a guy. Hey, what is this, Helen? A surprise? Why don't they tip a guy off when his old headmaster comes to see him?
Oh, you're looking fine, Teddy.
Yeah?
Good Lord, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Last time I saw you was after the Washburn game, remember?
What? Yeah, at Spokane.
Yeah.
Stinky was there, too. Say, do you remember the bus broke down that night outside of Wenatchee? You and I had a history.
You stand there stunned, speechless, just staring at them as they slap each other on the back, forgetting all about you. And George avoids looking at you. He's on their side now, you're sure of it. And worst of all, it's beginning to get you, too. He's not Ted, your foster brother. You know it, you're positive. It's ridiculous to go through all this rigmarole, but it seems to be your word against his proof, doesn't it? But there are still other ways, aren't there? Like another long-distance call, this time to the State Department in Washington, D.C. After being transferred to 4 or 5 different offices, you finally get through to the right
It's most
man.
important that you check this matter thoroughly. I'm positive that the man representing himself as my foster brother is an imposter.
You say you were with Mr. Van Norton when he filed his original application here in 1938?
Yes, I saw him attach his photograph and fix his fingerprints. I simply want to see that application.
I'll forward the file to our Seattle representative. You can check it there. Will that be satisfactory?
Quite satisfactory, thank you.
I see. You say the file was forwarded here from Washington?
That's right. I simply want to examine it, particularly the photograph.
Excuse me a moment, Miss Van Norton. I'll have to look it up.
Well, George,
Well, what?
I can't say that I'm pleased with your lack of faith in me.
No, who said anything about that?
Oh, it's clear enough.
Look, I'm a lawyer. I'll believe black as white if they throw enough evidence at me. Mr. Rigby was a very convincing witness.
He's a decrepit old fool, and it had been 15 years.
I thought he was an intelligent man.
Could have passed you off as my brother. He'd forgotten what Ted looks like.
I don't know. You might be arguing against yourself.
What do you mean?
You haven't seen Ted in almost 7 years.
Oh,
You know,
don't
you
be
could-
ridiculous.
Here we are. Theodore H. Van Norton. Now, what did you wish to see?
Here, let me see it. Medical examination, education record, application. Where's the picture?
On the other side.
Oh, here.
Satisfied, Helen?
It can't be. I saw Ted paste the picture on himself.
Is something wrong?
Of course there's something wrong. This isn't Ted's picture. It's that man.
Helen, get hold of yourself.
Here, let me see. Yes, here they are, fingerprints. Now, listen, clerk. I want this whole record sent to the office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Helen, you've got to have a rest. This thing is getting
That's
you.
one thing that can't be forged, don't you see? They can't forge his fingerprints.
Well, I'm sorry, Miss Van Norton, but I have no authority
You've got to. I tell you, there's a stranger in my house. He's posing as my foster brother. There's $1 million involved.
Just a minute, Helen, please. It's most important, Mr. Robbins, not only because of the money involved. Miss Van Norton is extremely upset.
Well, of course, Mr. Chadwick, but you see, I can't simply turn over material like this to
I'll make the necessary arrangements with the FBI, Mr. Robbins, and get your authority from Washington. Will that be satisfactory?
Quite, Mr. Chadwick. Quite.
Hello, Ted.
Well, Helen, I began to wonder where you were all afternoon.
Oh, downtown shopping. The stores are frightful these days.
Indeed they are.
You reading?
Yeah.
How's Dick Tracy?
Dunno. Haven't checked him today.
It's funny. You used to read Dick Tracy before you even looked at the headlines.
I guess a guy gets a little serious after all those years overseas. Prison camp, hospital.
Yes, I suppose so.
You're looking calmer today. Finally decide on the real thing?
I want you to forgive me, Ted. It's so unbelievable that I don't quite trust my senses anymore.
Sure. You're a good kid, Helen. I don't blame you.
Will you drink on it?
Why not?
What'll it be?
Bourbon and soda.
Oh, you're a man after my own heart.
You know, I'm kind of surprised. I thought you'd be a tougher nut to crack.
Oh? You expected me to be suspicious?
Well, after that episode on the boat, I expected anything.
Oh. Here you are.
Thanks.
What'll we drink to?
To us, of course.
All right. To us.
Yes, ma'am?
You're in charge of the fingerprinting department here?
Yes?
I'm Helen Van Norton. I brought in a highball glass yesterday afternoon with some fingerprints on it.
Oh, yes. That's the one you wanted us to check against the prints on the State Department application file.
That's right.
Where did you get that glass?
A man is posing as my brother, staying at my house. They're his fingerprints.
You're sure of the prints on the application?
What do you mean?
Are you sure they're the bona fide prints of your brother?
Of course. I was with him in Washington when he completed the application in 1938. I saw him put the prints on it.
I see. Well, that ought to settle it once and for all.
What do you mean?
The man at your house is your brother, Miss Van Norton. The prints are identical.
It can't be. It can't.
We wouldn't commit ourselves if we weren't positive.
I see. Of course. Oh, thank you.
Well, Helen, that settles it, doesn't it? You're beaten and you know it. And worst of all, you're not at all sure of yourself anymore. Yes, that's the unbearable part. Not knowing in your mind whether you're right or wrong. But you still have one more out, just one. It's a long chance, but you've decided you have to take it, to decide once and for all whether or not this man Ted is your foster brother, whether you can trust your own mind. It's very late that night when you get quietly out of bed and walk downstairs to the telephone. The house is as quiet as a tomb. Everyone's asleep.
Long distance.
I want to call Shanghai, operator. Mr. C.S. Julian, 28 Perlang Drive, Shanghai.
Just a moment, please. Mr. C.S. Julian.
Yes.
28 Perlang Drive, Shanghai. Yes. There will be a delay. Will you wait?
Yes. Yes, I'll wait.
Here's your party. Go ahead, please.
Hello.
Hello?
Is this Mr. Julian?
Who is calling, please?
I last talked to you in April 1941. The name I gave you was Grayson. Do you remember that?
Why are you calling?
Do you remember me?
Of course I remember you. You called concerning a man, Mr. Van Norton, as I remember. He was in Manila.
Do you know what became of him?
He was killed in an accident in May of 1941.
You're positive?
Positive.
Thank you, Mr. Julian. Thank you very much.
The Whistler will return in just a moment with a strange ending to tonight's story. Meantime, a word of wisdom to Mr. Average Driver. You spend well over $100 a year for gasoline. That's a lot of money. You'd like to be sure it's buying the gasoline that's tops in quality, the gasoline that gives you top performance from your car. Well, you can be sure if you'll just keep 2 points in mind when you buy gasoline. 1, it takes extra quality to go farther. And 2, Signal is the famous Go Farther gasoline. After all, the only way any gasoline can put more thrilling performance into your car is by helping your motor run more efficiently. And when your motor runs more efficiently, naturally you get better mileage. So there you have it in a nutshell, the reason why Signal's good mileage is so important to you. And the reason Signal says, to be sure of the tops in gasoline quality, there are just 2 things to remember. 1, it takes extra quality to go farther. And 2, Signal is the famous Go Farther gasoline. And now back to the Whistler.
It was a relief to know, wasn't it, Helen? You can trust your own senses now. Ted is dead. Mr. Julian just told you so. And the stranger in the house is an imposter. Somehow, some way, you can prove it. But right now, you don't want to think about it anymore. It's been too bewildering. All you want now is your bed and the first good night's sleep in a week. You put down the phone and start toward the stairs.
Sit down, Helen.
How long have you been here?
Long enough. I said sit down.
I'm going upstairs.
Sit down before you fall down. That's it. You just hung yourself, baby. There's a record of that phone conversation down at FBI headquarters.
What are you talking about?
You didn't have Shanghai, in case you're wondering. You were talking to the boys down at the office. Not Mr. Julian. We had everything, you see, except the link you just gave us. We knew Mr. Julian paid $10,000, part of the money you sent him, to one of his boys in Manila. The boy who killed your foster brother, Ted.
But
I was the only one who knew. I was detained over there in a prison camp, like I said. It was a long wait. I knew Ted had a foster sister, and I knew there was close to $1 million in it somewhere. But all I had was a suspicion.
What about Julian?
The authorities in Shanghai have him.
Well, I guess there's nothing much I can do.
Tough, isn't it? You could have been a nice kid. You weren't a killer at heart. You shouldn't have picked out someone in the State Department. Oh, it took us a long time to work it out. A lot of names, a lot of people. We even drew on the services of Mr. Rigby. When we got going, we knew you'd crack, sooner or later.
Who are you?
This time, baby, I'm telling you the truth. I was your brother's best friend. My name's McKay. Oh, and incidentally, I'm with the FBI.
Let that whistle be your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler, each Wednesday night at this same time. Brought to you by the Signal Oil Company, marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil and fine quality automotive accessories. Signal has asked me to remind you, to get the most driving pleasure, drive at sensible speeds, be courteous, and obey traffic regulations. It may save a life, possibly your own. Featured in tonight's story were Virginia Gregg and Gerald Moore. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen, with story by Harold Swanton and Mark Smith, and music by Wilbur Hatch, and was transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. Next Wednesday, for a full hour of mystery over most of these stations, tune in a half hour earlier. Enjoy The Saint as well as The Whistler. Marvin Miller speaking. This is CBS, where 99 million people gather every week. The Columbia Broadcasting System.
Have you heard the strange tales of the Whistler?
I'm the Whistler.
Look, I know I haven't a chance. I know that I can't live. I can tell the way that doctor looks at me. And you, too. Why don't you tell me the truth? Why don't you?
Friday night, and again, CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. And so I tell you tonight the unusual story of death in the air.
A girl, a rather ordinary brunette of 18, plainly dressed, steps out of an elevator on the 14th floor of a swank apartment house and moves silently down the hall. Pauses for a moment before a certain door, then turns the knob and steps inside. A handsome man of 35 jumps to his feet, stares at the girl a moment. Then she closes the door behind her.
Who are you? What do you want?
You don't know me. You never seen me before. But I know that you're Fred Blake.
Yes, I'm Fred Blake, so what? What's the idea of walking into my apartment?
I'm Mary Alberti.
Mary Alberti?
Does that name mean anything to you?
Why, lots of people are named Alberti.
Yeah. But I'm Mrs. Joe Alberti.
Joe Alberti?
Yeah. I thought that name would get a rise out of you.
What are you doing here?
Do you happen to know where my husband is at this moment?
Joe? Why, certainly I know where he is. Who doesn't? This morning he was sentenced. Why, now he's in the state pen.
Convicted of murder.
That's right.
A murder he didn't commit.
He was convicted. He had a trial.
But he's innocent. And you know it.
He yelled up the bank messenger. He shot him.
Then what became of the money?
How should I know?
Well, I know what became of the money. You have it.
How do you figure that?
Joe was working for you. As a chauffeur, he said. And I didn't know any different until he got into this jam. I didn't know what you were. Until he told me today. Just before he left.
Yeah, and what did he tell you?
That you were a gangster. And that he had nothing to do with the holdup or the murder. But that you planted the evidence on him. He was a fall guy.
Now, look, sister, I ran a couple of nightclubs and little gambling stuff. But I haven't yet gotten around to holdups and murders.
My husband wouldn't lie to me. He begged me to keep quiet about it. Because he was afraid if I made a fuss that you'd get rid of me.
What a wild imagination Joe has.
Joe told me the truth. Joe wouldn't lie to me.
The jury didn't believe his story.
He didn't tell him everything. He was afraid. Afraid for me.
Will you get out of here, or shall I call the police?
Nobody knows what became of the $50,000 my husband was supposed to have taken. Nobody but me.
So?
So, since Joe's been convicted, I think I ought to have the use of the money. So fork over, Mr. Blake.
Well, of all the brainstorms, you expect me to give you $50,000?
I do. If Joe grabbed it, it belongs to him. And since Joe's gone, it all becomes mine.
Are you nuts?
I know you don't carry $50,000 around with you, but you can get it tomorrow in cash. So I'll give you till tomorrow at noon to hand it over. That's 12 hours, Mr. Blake.
And if I don't?
Then I'll kill you.
I see. Well, where can I locate you tomorrow by noon?
At my hotel?
Very well. Just take this notepad and write your name and address. And your phone number.
Okay. There. There you are. And bring it in person, Mr. Blake.
Oh, of course. I wouldn't want anybody else in on this.
And if you don't show up with the money tomorrow, well, I'll catch up with you sooner or later. You'll pay eventually. I know you will.
I think I'll run up to the penitentiary and have a talk with Joe. He's all mixed up.
He isn't mixed up. Not now.
No?
No, Mr. Blake. Joe's dead.
What?
Dead. Killed himself on the way to the pen. He knew he was stuck and he couldn't face it. You did that, Blake. You killed him. So now you're going to pay. Through the nose. Good night, you dirty rat.
For 10 minutes or so, Fred Blake sits at his desk, thinking, studying the peculiar situation. Then there comes a knock at the door. He steps across the room and...
Yes, who is it?
Winston.
What do you want, Carl?
I want to talk to you a minute.
Okay, come in. What's on your mind?
Well, I was told you wanted to see me.
Yes, Carl, I do. But I didn't expect you here at this time of night.
What do you want with me?
As if you didn't know. What are you going to do about this phony check?
Well, I hadn't got the money now, but I'll get it eventually.
I've given you a month. Now I want the money.
Well, I'll get it. Really, I'll get it.
Well, if you can't get it, I can.
What do you mean?
Your father's district attorney of this county. I'll go to him. He'd pay it to hush it up.
Oh, please, Blake.
Or maybe I'd tell your father you ran up a liquor bill.
Look, Blake, I haven't got the money, but if you wait, I'll get it.
I've given you all the time I intend to. I want the money now.
Put up your hands, Blake.
Now, wait a minute. Don't try that bad man stuff on me. Put up that gun before you hurt somebody.
Give me that check. Hand it over.
Okay, Carl. But you're crazy.
Give me that check.
Sure. Here you are.
Let go. Get away from me. I'll kill you.
You crazy little fool. Blake. Good Lord.
For many hours, Blake hovers between life and death. Several times he is revived from the coma sufficiently to answer questions of the detectives. Now, several days later, a week to be exact, the district attorney holds a conference.
Tell me, Blake, on the night you were shot, did you see your assailant?
No.
Do you remember anything that happened?
No, I remember the shot. Felt a stab of fire in my chest. Came to in a minute or so, I guess. Got to the phone and called the receiving hospital. Then I passed out again.
And you didn't see the person?
No.
Blake, do you know a woman named Mary Alberti?
Yes?
Was she in your rooms the night you were shot?
Yes, how did you know?
On your date pad, we found her name and address and phone number. What time was she in your apartment?
Oh, about 12 o'clock, midnight.
And you were shot shortly after midnight.
That's right.
You think she did it?
I don't know who did it. That's for you to figure out.
What did Mary Alberti want? Why was she in your apartment?
Well, her husband Joe was my chauffeur. She wanted some money. She figured I'd help her out.
And did you?
Well, I told her I'd take care of her later.
Did you know Joe Alberti committed suicide?
Not until she told me.
Did Mary Alberti threaten you because you wouldn't give her some money at the moment?
Yeah, she did.
Do you think it was Mary who came back later and shot you?
I don't know. Could have been.
But she did threaten your life.
Yes, that's right.
Very well, Blake. There are witnesses to this conversation. It'll have to be repeated in court.
Okay, Winston.
You'll be notified about the trial.
Trial?
Certainly. I'm going to try Mary Alberti on attempted murder.
And so Mary Alberti is tried and convicted and sentenced for from 5 to 20 years. And now, 5 years. 5 long years have passed. Fred Blake has become wealthy, the boss of every racket in the county. And District Attorney Winston has been reelected on a new platform, a vice cleanup campaign. Fred Blake sends for the district attorney.
Come in, Winston. Sit down. Have a cigar?
Thanks. What's on your mind, Blake?
Well, I wanted to have a little talk with you, Winston, about your campaign.
Campaign is over. I've been reelected.
Yeah, but I mean your so-called cleanup campaign. When does that start, Winston?
It started the day I was reelected.
I see. My name at the head of your list?
I'm starting on you, Blake. And if I put you where you belong, well, that'll be a great accomplishment.
I think you're being foolish, Winston.
Do you? Why?
If you just dropped all this Puritan stuff, I could make it more than worth your while.
Blake, I was fortunate enough to be born the son of a very wealthy man. And money doesn't interest me in the least.
Money? Oh, no, not money. Something that's worth more to you than all the money in the world.
Blake, you couldn't bribe me no matter what you offered.
Mr. District Attorney, I'm going to change your mind in less than 1 minute.
All right, Blake. I'm listening.
5 years ago, you sent a girl to the penitentiary for attempted murder. My murder, remember? Well, you were wrong on that one. She didn't shoot me.
What? Then why didn't you say so?
I was saving it. Saving it for a rainy day.
What are you talking about?
The Alberti woman didn't do it. She was in my apartment that night, but she left. And a man came in. He owed me some money. He didn't have it. I threatened to tell his father that he had lost at gambling, and he went crazy. Pulled a gun and shot me.
Who was this man?
Your son, Carl.
Carl? I don't believe it.
Oh, but I can prove it. Look at this. His phony check. That's why he came to my apartment. He demanded the check. We scuffled when he pulled a gun. I hit him, and then he shot me. He left in such a hurry that he forgot the check.
I see.
But there's something more important than the check.
Yes? What?
A gun. A revolver.
Whose gun?
Take a look at it. 1 shot fired. Recognize that gun?
Why, yes, it's mine.
If ballistics were to check this gun and compare the bullet taken from my chest, they'd find a definite similarity in rifle markings.
I see.
Well, that's all there is to it. What do you say now, Mr. Winston?
You've really got me in a tough spot, haven't you, Blake?
If you care anything about your son or his future, you forget this cleanup business.
All right, Blake. I'll think it over. It's something that can't be decided in a moment.
Good night,
cleanup campaign is dropped, and Fred Blake flourishes. He opens more gambling clubs, grows wealthier and wealthier. And a year later, he is a popular figure in the swank set of a southern beach resort. At the moment, Fred is a weekend guest at the beach home of one of the wealthy 400.
Oh, what a perfectly divine night.
Yes, Anitra, I've never seen such a moon.
So peaceful and quiet here on the beach. I didn't want to dance anymore.
Well, let's sit down here on these rocks.
All right.
Anitra,
Yes, Fred? What were you going to say?
are you going back to Boston Sunday?
Why, I don't know. I haven't decided. I've a few more weeks, but I really should get back. The magazine's so understaffed, and I've a world of illustrations to do. Why do you ask, Fred?
Well, I thought if you didn't have to go back, you might come over to my place for a week.
Your place? Oh, but Fred,
Yes, I'm having some guests down for a week. Several couples from New York.
Well, I don't know. I really should get back.
Please come, Anitra. Please do.
Well, it's very sweet of you.
Anitra, I really want you to come. Because,
Yes?
you know, the way the moon shines on your hair, it looks just like spun gold.
Does it? Is that what you were going to say?
No. There are a lot of things I want to say. Do you realize what a beautiful girl you are, Anitra?
Fred.
I mean it. From the moment I first saw you, you knocked the props right out from under me. Nothing else exists. Nothing else matters. Nothing but you, Anitra.
But, Fred,
I'm wild about you. Crazy.
Please, Fred, we better go back.
You've got to listen, darling. I love you.
Are you asking me to...
Yes. I want you to marry me.
But I'm a career woman. You don't want a career woman for a wife. Besides, we've only known each other for a few days.
I don't care, career or not. 2 days or 2 hours. I love you.
Let's get back to the house. Come on.
You mean you don't like me? Is that it? Or is it some other man?
No, I do like you very much, and there's no other man, but... Well, I'll have to think about it. If I marry, I know I'll give up my work, and I'm not sure I want to do that.
I see. Well, will you at least make me happy by joining the party at my place for a week?
Yes, I'll come, Fred. I'll stay here for another week, but please don't high-pressure me. Let me make up my own mind. Promise?
It's a deal. Shall we seal it?
Certainly.
With a kiss?
Fred, Please.
I love you, Anitra.
Let's go back to the house, please.
But Fred doesn't keep his promise. Fred isn't the type. When he wants a thing, nothing can change his mind. And by the time the week is up, Fred has made up Anitra's mind. They are married and decide to spend their honeymoon in Florida. But a few weeks later, their honeymoon is interrupted. Fred is stricken with an illness.
In this room, Dr. Phillips.
Thank you.
Fred,
Yes, darling.
this is Dr. Phillips.
Yes?
Well, Mr. Blake, what seems to be the trouble?
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Dr. Phillips is a specialist from Miami.
Yes?
Suppose you tell me a few things, Mr. Blake.
Well, I'm afraid it's some sort of paralysis.
Paralysis?
Yes.
What makes you think that?
Well, the first time it hit me, I got kind of faint. My feet and legs became numb, sort of crept up on me. At first, it wasn't so bad, but the next time it came, it affected my hands and arms, too. I got dizzy and I passed out.
Oh, I see. You become nauseated, Mr. Blake?
No. But after the attacks, I'm so exhausted, I can't even get out of bed.
Well, I'd better give you a thorough examination.
What do you think it is, Doctor?
Well, I don't know at the moment.
Well, do you think it's serious?
Any interruption in the functions may be serious.
Do you think it would be best to take him to a hospital, Doctor?
I don't know yet.
No, darling, please. I'd rather stay here with you.
Yes, dear, of course, whatever you say.
Please, Mrs. Blake, would you mind stepping out for a while?
Oh, very well. I'll be in my room. Call me when you're finished. Everything's going to be all right, dear. Please don't worry.
Yes, I'll be all right.
I come in?
Oh, yes. Come in, Mrs. Blake. I've finished.
It's been an hour. I just couldn't wait any longer.
Quite all right.
How do you feel, Fred?
Well, a little better, I guess. He pounded me and thumped and listened, but I don't think he knows himself. I do feel better. I'm going to get up and walk around.
Mr. Blake, I'd advise you to remain as quiet as possible.
Why?
If you attempt to move about, I'll have to withdraw from this case.
What have you discovered? What is it?
Just relax.
Why don't you say it? Why keep it a secret? I'm entitled to know. Spill it.
Now, please, Fred, darling, please don't get excited. What is it, Doctor? Do you know?
Mrs. Blake, I'd like a few words with you. Step over here to the window.
Why, yes, of course, Doctor.
Very sorry.
I can't believe that.
Well, what are you talking about? Why go over there and mumble? Why don't you say it and be done with it? Did you hear me? What are you mumbling about?
Oh, Doctor, no.
What are you telling her, you quack? Why don't you tell me?
No, please, Mrs. Blake. Now, please be calm. I had to tell you.
If you don't tell me what you're talking about, I'll get out of this bed and brain you.
Oh, no, please. Darling, please don't get up. No, you mustn't.
Mr. Blake, I advise you to stay in that bed and control your temper. You're in no condition to withstand any form of excitement.
No? Then you know what's wrong with me?
I do. And believe me, if you want to recover, you'd best remain as quiet as possible.
It's that serious?
You have a chance, Mr. Blake. And that small chance depends mostly upon you yourself. I'll do my best, but it mostly depends on you.
Is it paralysis?
The knowledge of what it is will not help you. It is better that you think as little about it as possible. Good night, Mr. Blake. Good night, Mrs. Blake.
Anitra, what did he say?
Oh, Fred. Fred, you must try not to...
Another week passes, and Fred still remains in bed. He has had several more attacks, each one a bit more severe than the last. The doctor has made several visits, and Fred is now terribly frightened by the doctor's concern regarding his progress. Shortly before midnight, Fred feels another spell coming on, a little more severe.
Anitra!
Oh, yes, darling. Yes, Fred?
I'm getting fainted. It's coming on again. Get the doctor.
Oh, yes, Fred. I've already called him. He'll be here in a few moments. Now, be quiet, dear. Please don't exert yourself.
This is the worst yet.
Please be calm. You're all right.
No, I'm scared. This is it. I know this is the end.
Oh, Fred. Fred, don't say that.
I can tell.
No, you've nothing to fear, darling. Nothing.
I have. I can't help it. I'm afraid.
Fred, you must get hold of yourself. You must.
I know I haven't a chance. You know that. The doctor knows. He told you. I know, too.
Oh, please, Fred.
There's something I've got to tell.
Hush, darling.
You don't understand. I've got to tell someone.
Oh, you must calm yourself.
You've got to listen to me. You've got to.
Well, the doctor will be here in just a few moments. Now, please try to save your strength, darling.
He can't help me.
Oh, come in.
I came as quickly as I could, Mrs. Blake.
It's another attack, Doctor. It seems to be worse than the last. He's terribly frightened.
Come now, Blake. You must try to get hold of yourself. The pulse is... Well...
Pulse is what?
Just a second. My bag, please.
Yes, Doctor.
Thank you. Now, let's have a listen with the stethoscope. Do you have a chill, Blake?
I don't know. I'm just awful numb. It's creeping up inch by inch.
Oh, please, Doctor. Can't we take him to the hospital?
The hospital? I'm afraid that... Well, he's as well off here as in the hospital.
Why don't you tell me the truth? I've got a right to know. Tell me the truth.
Now, you're going to be all right, Blake.
You're lying.
Mrs. Blake,
Yes, Doctor. What did you start to say?
well...
Tell me. I've got to know.
Yes, Fred. Oh, tell us, Doctor. There's no use evading the issue. Fred wants to know.
Very well. Since you insist, there is nothing I can do for you, Mr. Blake. Nothing anyone can do for you.
You mean it's a matter of days?
It may be only a matter of hours. I'm sorry, Blake.
Hours. Anitra.
Oh, darling, I knew, but I just couldn't let you know.
Hours. Doctor, will you leave us alone for a while?
Of course.
Oh, please, don't leave the house, Doctor.
No, I'll stay with you as long as you need me. I'll be in the hall. You call me if you want.
Anitra, get a sheet of paper and write what I tell you.
Yes, dear.
And please hurry, Anitra.
Of course, dear. Yeah. I'm ready.
To District Attorney Frank Winston.
District Attorney.
I never thought I'd do this, but here it is. Joe Alberti was innocent in the killing of the bank messenger. He was framed. I killed the messenger and framed Joe.
Fred.
And Joe's wife is innocent of trying to kill me. She didn't shoot me, and I want her released. I'm enclosing a check for $10,000 for her. And furthermore, what I told you about your son was a lie. He didn't shoot me either. He did come to my room. He had a gun. I took it away from him. And in the scuffle, the gun went off. I shot myself. So that clears everything up. Now you can start your campaign. But I won't be around to participate. Yours, Fred Blake.
Fred, are you out of your mind? What? Well, this is ridiculous. I won't turn this over to the district attorney. I won't.
Please, Anitra, please do. I can't die. I just can't unless I know. Please. You've got to do it. Hand me the pen. I've got to sign it before my hands go numb.
Oh, no. No, don't sign it. Please don't. It isn't true.
It is true. Every word. Hold it for me. There. Oh, darling. You don't know what a relief this is.
All right, Fred. I'll do as you say. Oh, darling, I don't care what you've done. You've been so good to me. But if you want me to turn this over, I will.
I do.
Oh, Doctor! Doctor! Quick, Doctor!
You're too late, Doctor. Everything's okay now.
Well, it's all over. All over.
I was fortunate in getting a plane within half an hour after you phoned me, Mrs. Blake.
I understand, and I appreciate your coming.
Well, what is this about Fred Blake?
Well, Fred has been ill for several weeks, and last night, well, he got worse, became frightened, and made me take down this letter. He signed it, and then...
Letter?
Yes, you may read it. It's addressed to you. And I promised him I'd see that you got it.
I see. District Attorney Fred Wilson. Joe Alberti. And what's this? Carl. Out of all things. I had a hunch this would clear up sooner or later, but how, I hadn't the slightest idea.
And here's the check for $10,000 to Mary Alberti. Will you see that she gets it and is released from prison?
Mrs. Blake, Mary Alberti was paroled over a year ago. You keep the check and I'll locate her for you. You can give it to her.
Do you know where she can be found?
I have a pretty good idea. Now, may I see your husband? I'd like to be sure that he is the Fred Blake.
Yes, of course. This way.
Yes, he's the real Fred Blake. That's all I wanted to know.
Anitra. Is that you, Anitra?
Good Lord, I thought he was dead.
What is this? Where am I?
Blake!
Doctor, what happened?
I'm not a doctor.
No, then who are you?
I'm District Attorney Winston.
Winston? What are you doing here? Where am I?
You're in your bed, but you're on your way to jail.
Jail? Are you crazy? I'm sick. I'm dying.
You may be right about that.
He isn't dying. It's all in his imagination.
Yeah? Get up out of that bed.
But I can't. I can't walk.
Then we'll carry you. All right, Murphy. Come in and carry him out.
Yes, sir. Come on, Jim. We'll make a saddle seat for him.
I'm sick, I tell you. I'm dying.
You're taking a plane ride north, whether you're dying or not. You signed this confession, didn't you?
What? Yes. But you weren't supposed to get that till I was dead.
Why didn't you wait, Anitra?
Bring him along.
You'll never convict me. You'll never get that far because I'll be dead.
Come on, boys. Take him to the car.
Anitra, why don't you tell them? It's all a mistake. They can't do this. Tell him.
Tell them what?
Well, I'm dying.
What can I do, Fred? I did just as you asked me to do. I can't do a thing now. It's too late.
What's happened to you? What's happened?
Nothing. I've never been so satisfied in my life.
What?
I said this is the happiest moment of my life. Now get up, Fred. You can walk. You're stalling. There's nothing wrong with you.
You're crazy.
No, she's not crazy. She's clever. I've tried for over a year to work this thing out, and she did it all by herself. Yes, Blake, Mary Alberti, now known as Mrs. Anitra Blake, is a very clever woman.
Well, there you are. Mary Alberti, alias Anitra Blake, was a clever woman. She knew that her husband Joe was innocent, and when she was sent to prison for shooting Fred Blake, she made up her mind to eventually get out on good behavior. So she studied art, glamorized herself, changed her speech and appearance, and worked her way into the circles frequented by Fred. And everything worked out just as she planned. There was nothing wrong with Fred. He wasn't ill and he wasn't dying. Just a few grains of medicine each day was all that was necessary to bring on that numbness. And the doctor? Well, he wasn't a doctor. No, he was really the brother of her husband, the brother of Joe Alberti.
CBS has presented The Whistler. Original music for this production was composed by Wilbur Hatch and conducted by Ivan Ditmars. The Whistler is written and directed by J. Donald Wilson and originates from Columbia Square in Hollywood. Next week, same time,
I, the Whistler, will return to tell you another unusual story. Good night.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Have you heard the strange tales of the Whistler?
I'm the Whistler.
I didn't ask you to marry me. You asked me. And you said you were going to get a job so you wouldn't be dependent on your mother. I was happy then, Barry, and proud of you.
Another Saturday night, and again, CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. And so I tell you tonight the weird story of the man who waited. A huge estate spreads out before you, the ancestral home of the Bartletts, set amid the peaceful New England countryside. The war has not yet come. It is 1937. The estate is ruled by Lydia Bartlett, a cold, cantankerous woman ill with heart trouble. Into this unhappy setting has come young Genevieve Garrison to act as secretary companion to bedridden old Lydia Bartlett. Lydia has but one child, a son, Barry, recently returned from a tour of Europe. The handsome young Barry is immediately attracted to lovely Genevieve, and after a month has passed...
Genevieve, where are you?
I'm up here, Barry.
Oh, I've been looking all over for you.
So this is your hiding place.
No one ever comes up here, except the birds.
It's mighty windy up here in the tower.
I love it. It sings to me.
Yeah? You're a strange girl. You know, I think you're part of this wilderness. Some wild thing that shows itself for an instant and then disappears. That's your charm for me, Genevieve. That unattainable wildness that lures me.
Please, Barry.
Oh, I know Mother'd have a fit if she knew I were in love with you.
Then you must be sensible, Barry. After all, she controls the estate. And you'd have nothing if you were to make her angry.
Your eyes are almost black when I see them so close. Are you frightened, Genevieve?
No. That is...
Your heart's beating so fast.
I know. Let me go, Barry.
Are you frightened? Or is it that...
Yes, I am frightened.
Will you marry me, darling?
Barry.
I mean, would you marry me if I were able?
Yes, Barry, yes. You know that.
I'll have to find some sort of a job if we marry. Mother would cut me off in a minute. You know how she feels about marriage.
Yes. We'd best forget about it, Barry. I wouldn't want to cause any trouble between you and your mother. You better go now.
Oh, you're too lovely for words, Genevieve.
Barry.
I love you, darling.
And so 3 months pass by. Then one day, Genevieve steps into Lydia Bartlett's bedroom.
Did you call me, Mrs. Bartlett?
I certainly did. Where have you been? Put the pillow behind my back and lift my head a little more.
There. Is that better now?
Yes, it'll do. I want to talk to you.
What about?
About Annie, the maid.
Oh.
Has that young stable boy been visiting Annie again?
Well, I think she sees him on her days off.
Well, I want it understood once and for all that I'll not tolerate any such nonsense under my roof. It must stop.
But I think Annie would leave if you forbid her to see the boy. She's really very much in love with him.
Love? Bosh. Silly nonsense.
Mrs. Bartlett, you loved your husband, didn't you?
My marriage was arranged by my parents. It only lasted a short while because he died. But it was a nightmare while it did last. Love? There's no such thing.
I'm sorry I mentioned it.
And there's something else I want to talk to you about.
Yes? What is it?
What's wrong with you lately? You don't look well. You better see Dr. Ansted.
I have seen him.
And what did he say?
Nothing serious. It's, well, a slight heart murmur. He gave me some medicine. I'll be all right.
Rather take care of yourself.
I will.
Where's the newspaper?
Here.
Anything in it? Read it to me.
Well, there's a tea, a charity affair with the proceeds going to the baby shelter.
Baby shelter. Women are fools. Well, go on. What else?
Oh, a number of engagements and several wedding announcements and... Oh.
What's the matter?
Well...
What is it?
Well, it's something about your son.
Barry? What do you mean? Read it.
Seen frequently together are Miss Joan Marvell and Mr. Barry Bartlett, son of Lydia Bartlett. An early announcement is anticipated.
The fool! He's out of his mind. How dare he do such a thing? I won't have it. I won't.
Mrs. Bartlett, I just... Oh.
Annie, come here at once. Miss Garrison has fainted.
How are you feeling, Genevieve? Mother said you'd been ill, that you had some sort of an attack.
It wasn't anything. I had rather a shock. My heart isn't too good. I was reading the paper to your mother, and I noticed your name coupled with that of a Miss Marvell.
Oh.
It was silly of me to give way because I know it can't mean anything now.
Genevieve, I think I'd better come right out with it.
You mean it's true? Oh, Barry, how could you?
I've been trying to get up here to discuss it with you. You know that such an arrangement as ours is no good. Why, if Mother ever found out we were married, we'd be sunk. It's very unfair.
It's just as unfair to me. I didn't ask you to marry me. I was content the way things were. But when you asked me to be your wife, you said you were going to get a job so you wouldn't be dependent on your mother. I was so happy and so proud of you.
Well, I tried to get a job. But it's terribly awkward trying to find something to do when you're not accustomed to it. And you can't ask a man of my position to go out and become a garage mechanic or something like that.
There's nothing dishonorable in becoming a garage mechanic.
Oh, don't talk nonsense. Naturally, I can't tell my friends my reason that I'm married.
Naturally.
I met Joan some time ago. I was up at King's College with her brother Ned. She's grown up to be most attractive.
More attractive than I am, of course.
I didn't say that. It would be a very suitable marriage. The Marvells have pots of money, and the old man would give me a place in his business. Oh, naturally, I plan to take care of you, make you a suitable allowance, and that sort of thing, if you'll divorce me. As a matter of fact, Joan knows all about you and has consented to marry me if I can get a divorce.
She knows about your being married to me. But there's something else she can't know, Barry.
Why, what are you talking about?
I'm going to have a child. Your child.
A child? Who knows about it?
Dr. Ansdeth. I went to see him, and he told me what was wrong with me.
Well, Ansdeth's a good sport. He won't talk. Anybody else?
I've told no one else. But I think Annie suspects.
Oh, I hope it doesn't get to Mother.
But you can understand now why I can't divorce you.
I can understand why you think so, but I still think it's a shame. Why do these things have to happen to me?
Why do these things have to happen to you, Barry? But yours is no great tragedy, though you think yourself so ill-used. The harm that is done is not to yourself, but to the woman who loves you so dearly. And can you be sure she won't tell your mother?
Is there anything else you want, Mrs. Bartlett?
Yes, Annie. You're not to let that Joe Moberly into the kitchen. Is that clear? I'll not have that sort of thing going on in my house.
I'm not seeing Joe in the house. And when I see him open and honest, like respectable people. I'm not the only person in this house that is a gentleman friend either.
Well, I'd like to know who that person is.
I'm not saying anything against anybody. Only, if I can't see my Joe that keeps his distance and knows his place, why should anybody else be allowed to have a man in this house?
Ask Miss Garrison to come up here at once.
Annie said you wished to speak to me, Mrs. Bartlett?
And so I do. I'll come right to the point. What's going on behind my back?
Behind your back? I don't know what you mean.
Oh, yes, you do. You lie very badly. Out with it.
I don't understand. Did Annie say anything about me?
I was berating Annie for seeing that Joe, and she tossed her head and said she wasn't the only person hereabouts who had a gentleman friend. Only her gentleman friend called on her open and honest. Well, is there anything to what she says?
Yes. I have a gentleman friend, as Annie puts it so elegantly. I have more than that. I have a husband.
A husband?
Your son, Barry.
Barry? Barry? You're lying. You're lying. He wouldn't dare. He knows what he means to me. He couldn't do this to me.
It seems he did, Mrs. Bartlett.
Then you tricked him into it.
Of course you would say that. But I did nothing of the sort. I loved him. He asked me to marry him so he might free himself of your hold on him.
Barry did that? I'll not believe it.
Of course you won't believe it. You don't know the meaning of love.
What a way to talk to me. I'll not tolerate it another moment.
You'll have to tolerate it, because there's no way of your stopping me. I learned something else from Barry. He has one side to his nature which he takes from you.
What do you mean?
I married him because he wished it. He was going to find a way that we might live together openly. But Barry found he couldn't do what he said he would do. He found an easier way to live, through another woman who could keep him in the style to which you had accustomed him. So he told me this, expecting I would forego my claim to him.
Divorce him?
I would have released him. But there was another whose claim was greater than mine. His child.
Oh, disgraceful. Under my very roof. I can't endure any more of this. I'll call my lawyers. I'll cut him off without a cent. My medicine. Medicine. Oh.
What's happened, Miss Garrison?
Come in, Annie.
Oh, it's the missus. It's another attack. I'll call Dr. Anseth.
You can call him, Annie. But Mrs. Bartlett is dead.
And now Barry will be free from his mother's apron strings, free from financial worry. He will inherit the estate to do with as he pleases. But still, he hasn't everything. Joan is forever on his mind.
I had to talk with you, Joan. It's been ages since I've had a moment alone with you.
I'm sorry, Barry, but I didn't think it best.
Oh, I've got to talk things over with you.
When we planned to marry before, and you told me how you'd been tricked into marriage by that woman, I was willing to overlook it if you could get a divorce from her.
Oh, that's the devil of it. She won't divorce me now. There's going to be a child.
Oh. Where is she?
In a nursing home. She's been ill ever since Mother died. For a while, they thought she might die, too, but she pulled out of it.
Oh, I know. She must have, led you on, but you're so attractive, and she must have been really fond of you.
But I don't love her, dear. I love you. Can't you understand it? I can't give you up. I won't.
Barry, darling, I love you, too, but this isn't a thing we can decide in a moment. You must be patient.
Patient. You sit there close to me, and you ask me to be patient. I will for a while. But only for a while.
Genevieve, lying in her narrow bed in the nursing home, is trying to be patient, too, trying to forget the pain which racks her to the core, trying to keep from calling for the husband who isn't there. She had hoped that the birth of their son would bring him back to her. Then, one evening, the door opened.
Is that you, nurse?
No. It's Barry. They said I might see you now.
Barry. Oh, why haven't you come before? I've wanted you so.
There, now. Don't go on like that. I've had quite a lot of business connected with the estate, which took me away for a bit. They sent me a wire about the baby, and I came as quickly as I could.
Have you seen him?
Yes, rum little Dickens. Babies all look alike. Well, you'll be as fit as a fiddle before long, and after you get out of here, there's some things that must be straightened out.
What things straightened out? I don't understand.
Oh, things. I'll see about a house for you and the baby, and...
For me and the baby? What about you? Aren't you going to live with us, Barry?
No, you see, I...
Barry, that girl. Are you still in love with her?
Well, yes, I am.
I thought when the baby came it would be different. I see it's not.
Well, it's...
Let me tell you something. Sit down. You'll have to keep her waiting a while longer. They thought I didn't hear them because I was being put under the anesthetic. But I wasn't quite out. The doctor said she may last for years, but I lay you 10 to 1 she's dead in 3 months.
Oh, come now. You may have imagined it.
I didn't imagine it. You know what that means to me. 3 months to live. You can see how important it is that those 3 months should be spent with you.
The doctor didn't say a word to me about your being in such a serious condition.
But I heard him.
I see. And you don't want to give me a divorce. You want me to wait, is that it?
Yes, Barry. Please.
First it was my mother, and now you.
Barry, there's something I feel I must tell you. Something about your mother you don't know.
Well, what do you mean?
The doctor said she died of a heart attack, and she did. But she wouldn't have died if I'd given her the medicine for it. She'd found out from Annie that I'd been seeing some man, and when she asked me who it was, I told her everything.
You did?
She went into a tantrum and stormed at me. She had an attack. And I stood by and watched her. Watched her gasp for breath and call for help that never came. I did that for you. For you, Barry.
And you expect me to go on with you?
I expect you to stay with me and our son during the last remaining months of my life. And if you try to leave me or seek to have me put away because of what I've done, I'll bring you into it. I'll swear it was your idea. That you're an accessory.
The months go by. 1, 2, 3. And Genevieve, remembering the conversation which she had overheard between the doctor and the nurse, cannot believe it when she finds herself unmistakably improving in health.
Well, Genevieve, you'd had a rather severe time of it before the baby came, and you were quite run down. But you've done very well. You must watch your heart, though. Avoid any strenuous activity and keep as calm as possible.
Barry has sullenly accepted the conditions which have been forced on him, but the knowledge that Genevieve was responsible for his mother's death, as well as for his enforced separation from the girl he loves, makes him sullen and bitter. There's no happiness for either of them in this unnatural arrangement, but Genevieve holds him with her constant threat.
me, Mrs. Bartlett?
Will you ask Cook to make me a fresh pot of coffee, Annie? This tastes very bitter.
Yes'm, but Cook won't like it.
Well, I can't drink this. It tastes as bitter as Never mind. Don't take it back. Leave it.
Yes'm.
It's odd, but I could have sworn it tasted bitter like... I couldn't. Oh, good morning, Barry.
Good morning.
I'd offer you some coffee, but it's not so very good.
No, thanks. I'll just have a look at the paper. I had coffee in my room.
Oh? Since when do you do that?
What? Since when do I do what?
Have coffee in your room?
I did this morning.
Was it this same pot?
Well, it might have been. I don't know. I never noticed. Why?
Did you notice it was quite bitter?
I can't say that I did. Might have been standing too long. The cook should have sent you some fresh coffee. Get after her about it.
Yes. It might have been standing too long.
It might have been standing too long, but you don't think so, do you, Genevieve? Not when you know how your husband bitterly resents his enforced stay at your side, how he wishes the doctor's prognosis of your case had been fulfilled. If only there was some way to break up this infatuation with Joan before it's too late. Why not call Joan? Talk to her yourself.
Miss Joan Marvell, ma'am.
How do you do, Miss Marvell? Come in, please.
Thank you.
That will be all, Annie. I suppose you're wondering why I sent for you.
Yes, I was a bit surprised, to say the least.
I want to talk to you about Barry. Barry's my husband. We have a child, as you know. This is his home, and I've done everything possible to keep him here where he belongs. But so long as you continue to see him, it will be more difficult for him to make a decision.
What makes you think I've been seeing him?
I can tell by the way he acts. He thinks he's in love with you. And he will continue to think so until you make a definite break.
Well, Mrs. Bartlett, I've not been seeing Barry. He's tried to reach me many times, but I've purposely avoided him.
Are you sure?
Yes, because I'm going to be married to someone else. So you have nothing further to worry about.
Does Barry know this?
No.
Then why haven't you told him?
I intend to tell him today.
I wish you would. He's been acting strangely of late, and I'd feel ever so much easier about things if you let him know the truth.
I understand, Mrs. Bartlett.
I hope you'll be very happy, Miss Marvell. And I do thank you for coming.
So you see, it's all for the best, Barry.
You don't mean that, Joan.
Until I talked to her, I was really undecided about marrying Roger Haddon. But now I know what to do. She's a lovely woman, Barry. The most tragic eyes I've ever seen in my life. You must go back to her. She wants you, needs you. You must forget about me.
So she sent for you, did she?
Yes.
She thought she was being clever. Oh, why doesn't she give up? She knows how I feel. I do wish you hadn't gone to her.
I'm glad I did. I know now what to do. And having seen her, talked to her, I understand you so much better.
Understand me?
Yes. I think you know what I mean. Goodbye, Barry.
No, please. Joan, please, wait a minute. You don't really love this, Roger. You're doing this just because of Genevieve. You must think of yourself. Think of me. Hold your decision for a few weeks.
Why?
Well, something may happen. I mean, if you'll just wait a bit, the picture may change for us.
How do you mean? How could that be possible now?
Promise me that you'll wait.
What are you thinking, Barry?
Why, nothing. I just want you to wait.
She said you'd been acting odd.
She's imagining things.
I'll have to hurry now or I'll miss my appointment. Goodbye. I said goodbye, Barry.
Oh. Oh, yes. Goodbye, Joan.
Now it is late the same night. Genevieve lies wakefully in her bed. A car draws up outside. The front door opens and closes. Genevieve sits up. Someone is coming up the stairs. They pause before the door.
Who is it?
May I come in?
Yes, Barry.
Hello, Genevieve.
Oh, Barry.
I'm sorry to disturb you at this time of night. How do you feel?
Why, I feel much better, Barry.
Well, Joan told me that she'd talked to you this afternoon.
Yes, Barry.
We're all washed up, you know. She asked me to come back to you.
Oh, Barry. If you only would.
There's a lot of unpleasant memories between us.
I try to make you forget them, Barry.
I had decided to go to California.
Oh, Barry, please don't. Stay with me. I need you, darling. Please don't go.
All right, Genevieve. If that's the way you want it.
Barry, you don't know what this means to me. We'll really be together again. You and the baby and me.
Genevieve, what's wrong?
It's my heart.
What?
Excitement. My medicine in the bathroom. Please, Barry.
Medicine?
Yes. The little one with the medicine dropper. Please.
Yeah. Yes, Genevieve. Bottle with the medicine dropper in it. Medicine dropper in it. Oh, yeah. I have it. How much do you take?
5 drops.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you are.
Thank you, Barry.
Oh, you'll be all right now, Genevieve. You'll be all right in a few moments. I'll stay in the other room tonight.
Barry.
What is it?
That bottle. That isn't my medicine.
What?
No. Look at the label. That's your mother's medicine.
Mother's? Oh, good Lord, it is.
It's wrong for me. That medicine is a heart depressant. Barry. What have you done? I can't breathe. Can't.
Genevieve. Genevieve!
Well, Barry, what have you done? Genevieve is dead. Isn't this what you wanted? You're free now, Barry. Free. Then, 45 minutes later, Dr. Anstead hurries into the bedroom.
Well, Barry, what is it? What happened?
I don't know, Doctor. This is the way I found her.
Well, not sign of a pulse. Poor girl. I can't understand it. She'd improved so much.
She's dead, Doctor?
Yes, Barry. I'm sorry. I'm completely dumbfounded. Wait a moment. What's this?
What?
What on earth? Why, she's taken some of this medicine. Good heavens, yes, I can smell it in the glass.
Well, what's wrong, sir?
This isn't her medicine. I prescribed this for your mother.
My mother?
Genevieve's heart needed a stimulant. This induces the opposite reaction. Oh, she took this by mistake.
By mistake? But how on earth could...
Well, there's nothing we can do for her now. What time did you say you came into the room, Barry?
Why, just a few moments before I called you.
Well, that would be 12 minutes ago.
Yes, that's right.
I see.
She was gasping for breath. She tried to say something, but I couldn't make out what it was. I called you immediately.
Well, I'll call the undertakers. I'll use the phone in the hall. The body's in this room, Mr. Andrews. Come in.
Thank you.
Barry, this is Mr. Andrews.
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do?
Mr. Andrews is a police inspector.
What? Why the police? I thought you called the undertaker.
Not yet.
Well, why the police?
Barry, here's a letter your wife gave me not so long ago. It says on the envelope, to be opened at my death.
A letter?
Yes, I'll read it to you. Dear Dr. Anstead, for many months now, my husband has been in love with another woman. I refuse to give him a divorce. Lately, he's been acting in a strange manner. I know he wants me out of the way. I know he has tried to poison me. I have hoped and hoped that I could bring him back to his senses. But now I'm afraid it's too late. If my death occurs, I want you to investigate the circumstances thoroughly. Signed, Genevieve Bartlett.
But that's ridiculous. I never thought of such a thing. It's all pure imagination. I came back here tonight to stay. I realized what a fool I'd been, and that letter doesn't prove a thing.
It proves a motive. And furthermore, you lied about the time you found her.
Lied?
You said you came into this room 12 minutes before I arrived. You said she was trying to speak, and that you called me at once. 12 minutes elapsed from the time you found her till I came.
Yes, that's what I said.
But she had been dead almost an hour when I saw her.
What?
You waited, Barry. Waited till you were sure she was dead. Then you called me.
No. Wait a minute, Doctor. I can explain.
You can explain down at headquarters. Come on. Barry tried to explain. He told the truth. He had come back to Genevieve to stay. He did get the bottle for Genevieve. It was an accident. But he couldn't explain why he waited almost 30 minutes before he called the doctor. He said he just sat beside the bed in a daze, and that was the truth. But no one would believe him. No one. Poor Barry.
CBS has presented The Whistler. Original music for this production was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. Tonight's story was written by Elizabeth Easton and directed by J. Donald Wilson. The Whistler originates from Columbia Square in Hollywood. Next week, same time.
I, the Whistler, will return to tell you another unusual tale. Good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
The Signal Oil Program, The Whistler. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Yes, friends, it's time for The Whistler. Rated by independent research, the most popular West Coast program in radio history. And remember, let every traffic signal remind you, with new Signal gasoline, you do go farther than ever. Look for the familiar big yellow and black circle sign that identifies those popular Signal service stations in 7 western states from Canada to Mexico. And now the Whistler's strange story, Terror-Stricken.
Fear can become a terrible thing. Gangrenous, disintegrating, warping, twisting, gnawing at a man's mind until he's conscious of nothing else but its presence. That was the kind of fear that took hold of Benjamin Reynolds. And oddly enough, it was the natural outgrowth of the very thing that started him on the road to success. There was a trial, an important trial. There were big names involved, particularly the name of Andrew Miller, the accused. And at that trial, 10 years ago, young Benny Reynolds, investment clerk, just out of college, became Benjamin Reynolds, star witness for the prosecution. And he was a good witness. Investment bankers in San Francisco and Wall Street in London glanced at the headlines and commented that this time, because of Benjamin Reynolds, Andrew Miller and his crowd were washed up for good. They were right.
Order, please. Order in the court. Will the prisoner face the bench? Andrew Miller, you have been found guilty of the charge of grand larceny. I therefore sentence you to be confined within the state prison for a term of 10 years. Bailiff, remove the prisoner.
You dirty rat, Reynolds! I'll get you for this!
Yes, Benjamin, that was the big break. Overnight, you became the banker's champion, the man who almost single-handedly broke up the Miller crowd. Today, just 10 years later, you're head of the Reynolds Investment Company, a pillar of the community. It's a nice morning as you sit at the desk in your private office, looking at reports.
Yes, Mr. Reynolds.
Joan, will you send Mr. Barton in, please?
Yes, sir.
46,000 Allen account. Well, that can't be right. Gross commissions chargeable. Oh, wait a minute now. I know that's wrong.
You wanted to see me, Ben?
Yes, Ralph. These figures, are you sure they're correct?
Of course. I prepared the statement myself.
Oh. Well, things like this don't do my heart any good, Ralph. Sit down, will you?
Oh, sure.
I'm sure there must be a mistake somewhere.
I don't think so. But of course it's possible.
Well, suppose you recheck them, just to be sure?
Well, that's a big job. I'd have to go through all the records for the whole year again.
I wouldn't ask you if I didn't think it was important. Well, perhaps I ought to call in the Monroe Auditing Company.
No, I'll do it, Ben. No use taking on that expense.
Well, all right, if you can have it by next Monday. Otherwise, I'll have to call Monroe. I've got to have those figures for the directors' meeting.
I'll have them for you. By the way, Ben, have you seen the papers?
Yes, I glanced through them at breakfast.
Did you by any chance see this?
Oh, yes, I missed that. Among those released from state prison today is Andrew Miller, convicted 10 years ago of grand larceny in a trial that caused worldwide comment in financial circles.
Remember him?
What do you think?
I remember what he said when the judge sentenced him.
Yeah.
Does it make you a little nervous, Ben? I mean, just knowing the man is on the loose again?
Oh, I doubt very much if Andy Miller will do anything that'll send him up again. Still, you never know, do you?
No, Benjamin, you never know, do you? Andy Miller wouldn't think of making good on his promise. Or would he? Somehow you can't concentrate. Find yourself thinking about it, wondering, walking to the water cooler in the corner of your office every 5 minutes, wiping perspiration from your forehead until your handkerchief is soggy. And the next morning, it's worse as you answer your morning mail.
Your order for 100 shares of Consolidated Power and Light at the market, thereby acknowledged, and... Say, that was Consolidated, wasn't it?
I think it was Southern California Edison.
Oh, yes. Make it Edison, then. And will be executed immediately. Very truly yours. Now, let's see. We took care of McDonald. And, what's this? You rat. I'll get you, and don't forget it. Why, he had the nerve to sign it.
What's the matter?
Where's the envelope to this thing?
Why, Vera takes them off and...
Get Vera in here right away.
Well, she's out on an errand for Mr. Barton.
All right, then, get Barton.
Yes, sir.
And don't forget it. Andrew Miller. Of all the crust,
You sent for me, Ben?
Yes. Take a look at this.
Same words he used at the trial. That guy must be crazy. He signed it himself.
What do you make of it?
I don't know.
Didn't lose any time, did he?
I think he's trying to bluff you. Or maybe he didn't write it.
Oh, he wrote it all right.
I don't know. It's pretty fantastic after 10 years. But in view of the threatening tone, I'd certainly check to see if it's genuine.
Yes. Yes?
Vera
Vera's here, Mr. Reynolds.
Send her in, please. Well, we'll see what she knows about it.
You want to see me, Mr. Reynolds?
Yes. Vera, did you notice this letter in the morning mail?
Well, I don't read the mail, Mr. Reynolds. I just open it and put it on your desk.
I've instructed them not to read company mail, Ben.
Oh, of course.
Well, I might remember it if I saw the envelope.
Yes, Mr. Reynolds.
Have the wastebasket containing the envelopes from today's mail brought into my office, will you?
I'm sorry, Mr. Reynolds. The janitor emptied all the wastebaskets an hour ago.
Oh, very well.
What are you going to do now?
Well, I guess there's nothing I can do but call the police.
With the prologue of Terror Stricken, the Signal Oil Company brings you another strange story by The Whistler. If you've been reading the new car ads, and who hasn't, you've no doubt noticed the emphasis that's being put on increased mileage. 25 to 30 miles per gallon from some of the new models. Now, why do you suppose this is? Is it because folks today are interested in making dollars go farther? Well, partly. But even more so, they're interested in the increased engineering efficiency which makes that greater mileage possible. Yes, and right there you have the reason why Signal Oil Company is so proud of the fact that you now go farther than ever with new Signal gasoline. You see, Signal's improved mileage is the result of increased power, amazing new power. The same power that gives new Signal gasoline quicker starting, faster pickup, and quieter, higher anti-knock. That's why we say, look to your speedometer for the final measure of gasoline quality. You'll find that the super-powered new gasoline that gives you peak performance is also the gasoline that now helps you go farther than ever. New Signal gasoline. And now, back to the Whistler.
Well, Benjamin, there was a price tag on that testimony you delivered so efficiently at the trial of Andrew Miller 10 years ago, and you're beginning to pay for it now. The police don't help much. All you can do is swear out a warrant for Miller's arrest and leave the rest up to them. They can't do a thing about that weak heart of yours, stop it from pounding every time someone comes to the door, and they can't bring your appetite back or help you to sleep at night. It's later than usual when you arrive at the office next day. Ralph Barton's busy on the books as you go into your office. Hang up your hat and go over to the water cooler for a drink.
I guess I...
Help! Help! Yes, Mr. Reynolds.
Help!
Reynolds, wait a minute. Oh, Mr. Reynolds. Vera, Dr. Crane's in the next office. Get him, hurry. Oh, yes, sure, right away.
What's going on here? Mr. Reynolds, what's happened?
We came in when he called for help.
Get a doctor.
Vera's already gone for one.
What's keeping her? There's a doctor right down the hall.
She should be back in a minute.
That isn't soon enough.
Oh, but it takes some time.
Don't you realize every second counts?
Oh, here she comes now.
Right in here, Dr. Crane.
Stand back. Stand back, please.
Yes, give him room. Doctor, is it serious?
Can't tell yet. Looks very much like some form of poisoning.
Well, that was a close call, wasn't it, Benjamin? When you leave the hospital that night, you're still weak. Positive now that Miller means business. The police report that afternoon. Poison in the water cooler, just enough to knock a man out. No fingerprints. No way of knowing how Miller could have entered the office without being seen. Nothing they can tell you except to carry on as usual. For the next 2 days, you find yourself waiting for it, tense, expectant, but nothing happens. And you begin to relax a little, to believe what the police lieutenant said about Miller being too smart to try it again. Perhaps they're right, Benjamin. Perhaps what you need is a change, a dinner out with your wife, Sally, at a restaurant on 6th Street.
Ben, dear. Ben.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sally. I was thinking.
Oh, please try and forget it, darling. Oh, the whole thing's ridiculous. The man wouldn't have to take a chance like that. Oh, there must have been a mistake at the bottling company or something.
Of course, dear. Now let's forget it, huh?
But you're as fidgety as a cat.
No, I'm not. But I am hungry.
Ben, do you mean it?
Of course I do. Why?
Oh, because you've hardly touched your meals the last few days.
Oh, well, let's order, huh? I'm starved. Well, what'll we start with?
Well, what about a shrimp cocktail?
Wonderful. Then mixed green salad?
And a sirloin for two.
Medium rare.
Oh, Ben, darling. Oh, darling, are you all right?
I'm the manager. You hurt?
No, I'm all right. It missed me. See there in the wall?
Good Lord. Well, I don't know how
Who did it?
Oh, I don't know, sir. It came from over there somewhere.
Well, don't stand there with your mouth open. Call the police.
Well, of course, right away.
Come on, Sally. Let's get out of here.
Of course, darling.
Well, whoever fired that shot meant business, didn't he, Benjamin? Your heart's pounding like a trip hammer again as you walk out of the nightclub. The hole in the wall was 6 inches from your head, and that's awfully close. Your heart almost stopped, didn't it? You're terror-stricken. You jump at every sound. And then you wonder why Miller doesn't come right out and kill you. But you remember he's had 10 long years to plan his revenge. No, sudden death would be too easy. He wants to make you suffer. Of course, sleep is out of the question. Even the powders the doctor gave you have little effect on your frenzied nerves. You imagine all kinds of things as you lie there in bed.
Ben.
Yes?
Ben, why is he trying to kill you?
Please, Sally, let's not talk about
First the poisoned water and the trip to the hospital, then that shot tonight.
it. Yeah.
Oh, but Ben, the police will catch him. Soon he can't talk.
I just hope it's soon enough.
Oh, sure. Oh, that's the door. I wonder who in the world... Oh, no, lie still, darling. I'll get it.
No, I'll get it. Yeah. Hold your horses. I'm coming. Oh. What do you want?
What do I want?
Yes, that's what I said. What do you want?
I'm calling for the remains of the dear departed.
Are you drunk?
No, I don't think so.
Now, look, it's cold here at the door. Hurry and state your business, please.
I did. I was sent to call for the mortal remains of...
Man alive, will you talk sense? I haven't time for foolishness.
This is 1620 Runyon Avenue, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Then it's the right place.
Who sent you, anyway?
The Gold Hills Mortuary. Now, do you understand?
No, I don't. There must be some mistake.
The party on the phone was very explicit. He said 1620 Runyon Avenue. The remains of the late Benjamin Reynolds.
That's not funny, mister. I'm Benjamin Reynolds.
Oh.
Now, get out. Get out of the body of Benjamin Reynolds. Will give you a very black eye. Oh. What's going to happen next?
How much more can you stand, Benjamin, before your heart gives out completely? You can't eat. You can't sleep. You almost jump out of your skin at the slightest sound. Miller is getting his revenge. He must be enjoying it immensely. Sally makes you rest all day Sunday, but you're still befuddled. You can't even talk straight anymore. You stutter. Monday morning, you decide to walk to the office. You want to try to think. Yes, that's it. Walk and try to think.
Look out! Officer! That blue sedan tried to run this man down!
Hey! What's going on?
The guy in the blue sedan tried to run over this man!
Are you hurt, mister?
No. I'm all right.
The devil you say. You're shaking like a leaf.
Soon as my nerves quiet down,
Them that saw it seemed to think it was a deliberate attempt to kill you.
Yes, I think so, too.
Any idea who might be trying to kill you?
Sure. Andy Miller.
Okay. Now I got to make a report of this. What's your name?
Benjamin Reynolds.
Benjamin Reynolds. Oh, you better see a doctor, Mr. Reynolds. You're in bad shape.
I'll be all right.
I better send you home in a cab. You're in no condition to walk.
Another close call, and you're scared almost to death, aren't you? You wonder how much longer your heart will be able to stand it. Not much longer now. You tremble so violently you can't even light a cigarette. Even at home, you can't sit still. You pace the floor back and forth all day long until finally night comes. You can't sleep. You toss and turn. Yes, the days are bad, but the nights are filled with terror.
Who's there?
Bendy.
I said, who's there?
Oh, it was nothing, honey.
What's that? What's that?
Oh, stop it.
Who are you? Why don't you answer?
Oh, it's only the shutter. Oh, Ben, don't be so jumpy.
Yes, of course. Oh, only the shutter.
It was only the shutter, wasn't it, Ben? But all the noises in the night have a sinister meaning, haven't they? After what seems like hours, exhaustion finally takes over, and you've just fallen asleep when...
Who's at the door at this hour?
Ben, dear, don't be frightened, darling. It's not the door, it's the phone.
Oh, the phone.
Yes.
Who the devil can that be? I'll give them a piece of my mind. Hello.
Is this Benjamin Reynolds?
Yes, it is. What's the big idea of calling me at this hour of the night?
Don't you know?
No, and I don't care.
Oh, yes, you do. You got a letter the other day, remember?
Andrew Miller.
Why, how'd you guess? I'm going to get you, remember?
Say, wait a minute.
You haven't much time left to live,
Wait.
Reynolds. It's coming tomorrow.
But, hello? Oh, hung up. Oh.
Operator.
Trace that call quick, please.
What is your number?
Morningside 1024. On hurry, please.
1 moment, please.
Oh, hurry.
What number did you call?
I didn't call any number. They called me.
Do you know the other party's number?
No, I don't. That's why I asked you to trace the call. Please hurry.
There is no one connected with your number now.
I know. They hung up. Can't you hurry? I want to trace the call that was connected with his phone. Please.
I'm sorry, but after the other party has hung up, it is impossible to trace the call.
Oh, very well. Say, I wonder if my hunch... I'll see.
Hello?
Hello, Barton. This is Reynolds.
What the deuce makes you call me at this time of the night?
Barton. Andrew Miller called. He said I haven't much time to live.
Is that so?
Yes, and I'm at my wit's end. What can I do? He's coming here, Ralph. Lord knows what he'll do to me.
What do you mean he's coming there?
Well, he just told me.
You can't take this much longer, Ben. Why don't you call the police?
Well, I've called the police a dozen times. I tell you, Miller's too clever for them, Ralph.
Then there's only one thing to do. Get out.
Well, yes, but he'd follow me. He knows where...
He hasn't checked me. Now, look, it's out of the question for you to stay there under the circumstances. I'll be over in the morning, and we'll go up to my cabin for a few days. You've got to get a complete rest.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Ralph. I've simply got to...
And listen, there's someone tipping that guy off on your movements. This time, make sure. Don't tell anyone where you're going.
Well, yes, but what about Sally?
Tell her you're off on a business trip or something. Yeah, that's it. The convention starts tomorrow in Cedar City. If necessary, you can call her later from the cabin.
Yeah. All right, Ralph.
I'll pick you up in front of the signal station at Runyon and Broadmoor tomorrow morning at 8, right?
Right. How much farther, Ralph?
About 14 miles.
Hey, the old heart's banging away again. Doctor said 6,000 feet was my limit, you know.
Well, we'll stay pretty well under that, boy.
Oh, good.
Boy, look at that view. You can see all the way back to...
What's the matter?
So that's strange. There's that car again. You don't suppose he's following us, do you?
Oh, probably one of the natives.
I don't know.
Wait a minute. You don't think Miller...
You're sure you didn't tell anyone where you were going?
Well, positive. I will have to call Sally later, though.
Yeah, sure. Hey, here's the spot where I always stop. You can get a good view clear back to the valley. How about it?
Oh, great.
Up this way.
Yes, kind of steep. I better take it easy.
Now, there's a level spot up here at the top.
Well, you go ahead, Ralph. I gotta watch myself at this altitude. Get that air. You know, this is what I needed. Mountain air, sunshine, quiet. Hey, where are you?
Up here. Come on.
This is a real inspiration, Ralph. How'd you think of it?
You mean this?
Whew. I mean getting away from everything like this. One sniff of that air and a fella forgets he ever had any worries.
Hey, look over here.
Hey, now, take it easy. Kind of close to that edge, you know.
Look, Ben. 1,500 feet, straight down.
Yeah, I'd just as soon stay back here if you don't mind.
What's the matter, Ben? Afraid?
No, just sensible, that's all. You know, funny thing about me in high places, it seems
You ought to be afraid, Ben. That's where you're going. 1,500 feet straight down.
What?